same video clip and the same melody-less
What do you mean melody-less?
piano. This is
There's-
not catchy. This is
Hold
not
on.
something I'm gonna. It's not an earworm.
Do. Come on. Do.
No.
Oh, I love it with the chicken. You don't like my chickens? We talk about bird flu. Look, and then there's the little guy, the armadillo. Who doesn't like armadillos? I hear they kind of smell bad, but I love them.
Love armadillos.
Look how cute he is. I think this is a great opening for All Beings Considered.
It's a little
The goat.
nature video-y. It's I don't know.
Oh man, I love the new song though.
What do people in the chat feel like?
Cat's loving it.
I'm not digging this song. This is not doing it for me.
It's upbeat. I thought that
It's making me want to fall asleep.
we could go full rock and roll then. This is pretty good. Like, boom, boom, boom. I like it. All right, we're gonna talk about bird flu and all. I mean, we can't be. It's pretty upbeat. Look at the birds and this. Do you think he's a cockerel or a rooster?
That's a rooster.
It's a rooster. Wow, you know your cocks. Let me I think
That's what he said.
That's what he said. I don't know the difference actually between a cockerel and a rooster. The cockerel's just a young rooster, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So we don't know whether that rooster's a. Doesn't a
That
rooster
looked like
have
a full-grown one. Did not look like a teenager.
Well, what is the-
Under 1 year old though. So I guess
Oh,
it could be possible then.
I don't. I assumed that there was some kind of rite of passage for male chickens.
Like a bat mitzvah, a cock mitzvah.
You cock mitzvah. I thought it was a cock mitzvah. I thought that
We need to have cock mitzvahs for sanctuary roosters.
I like
think
this a
that's
lot.
a thing.
At what age do you perform the cock mitzvah?
I think at a year old, we should perform cock mitzvahs.
1 year when you are no longer a cockerel, you are a full-grown. I thought that there would have been some kind of rite of passage in the form of like they sired, they fertilized is the word I'm looking for. They fertilized an egg.
Like that when they. I wonder what age they can do that.
Because
when they go through-
they go through some kind of because isn't a what do you call a chicken before she's a chicken? A fledgling? No, a fledgling
That's a pullet.
A pullet, right? A
Yes.
pullet. A pullet is a chicken who has not laid an egg.
So as early as 4 months, they can fertilize.
So I guess you're right. So 1 year is not arbitrary. So 4 months, a cockerel becomes a rooster.
Maybe at 4 months we should have cock mitzvahs.
Cock mitzvahs at 4 months old. That makes sense to me. I think it's great. I don't know what. I think it's good. These egg prices. They say they're going to go down just in time for Easter. And
No, let's hope not.
well, a lot of Americans they're afraid that they're just going to stay up forever, but people are talking about it. And even Donald Trump today, I don't know if you, how's your Liberation Day going, Crystal? Today's Liberation Day.
I've been doing surgery all day. I have no
Mm.
idea what's going on, and I don't watch the news. So tell me, what's Liberation Day?
Liberation Day, April 2nd. It's the day that Donald Trump is introducing his sweeping new tariffs.
Okay.
Mostly on our friends, but also on our adversaries. He has a long list. It looks like something to me, it very Price is Right-ish. I don't know, but I'm not going to show you that part. I wanted to show you because during the press briefing, he did bring up a certain thing that we talk about.
Through non-tariff barriers, the European Union bans imports of most American poultry. You understand?
They banned most imports of American poultry, which if they're not
just recently,
they're saying that most European here we go.
Barriers, the European Union bans imports of most American poultry. You understand?
Through tariff barriers, they ban the import of most U.S. poultry. Europeans.
Since
And
when?
so,
Since always?
according to Trump, I don't know. I don't think he's giving us too much to go on. He's just saying that it happens.
Understand? They say, we want to send you our cars, we want to send you everything, but we're not going to take anything that you have. Australia bans.
We're not going to take your chickens.
Wonderful people and wonderful everything, but they ban American beef. Yet we imported $3 billion of Australian beef from
$3 billion of Australian
here's
beef
some context.
we import.
The European Union has maintained a ban on imports of U.S. poultry since 1997. This prohibition stems from the EU's disapproval of certain pathogen reduction treatments, such as chlorine washes. This is why, like the European eggs, you leave them on the counter, and the U.S. eggs, we wash them and stuff, and you have to keep them refrigerated.
I don't know, man. I lived in Europe. We refrigerated the eggs, but yeah, I guess the eggs are, because they have these vending machines for eggs that are temperature controlled, but they don't wash them. This is true, though. They do not wash the eggs. That's for sure.
The EU contends that these chemical treatments may mask poor hygiene practices earlier in production chain and prefers alternative methods to ensure food safety.
That makes a lot of sense, though, Crystal. If you bleach the eggs, and Americans like those white eggs, if you douse them in bleach, then it's probably right. It's masking a disgusting thing that just happened. Just like a crime scene. If you and I murdered a guy, we would probably wash it down with bleach. Just so next time, bring the bleach, would you?
No, I would put plastic down and be sure completely plasticize the area before I killed the man, then just clean up the plastic and then put it in a barrel full of lye and then throw it in the ocean.
That's a lot of prep.
Not that I've planned this before. Despite ongoing discussions and attempts to resolve the issue, including a U.S. challenge at World Trade Organization in 2009, the ban remains in effect. Consequently, U.S. poultry products are largely absent from the European market.
U.S. poultry products are largely absent from the European market, but the Germans are selling us eggs. Hold on, it's a very short clip. Hold on.
Okay.
Them just last year alone, they won't take any of our beef. They don't want it because they don't.
Why won't the Australians take our beef is the other question. Maybe they're just, maybe it's because there's only 20 million of them and there's almost 400 million of us. Could that be it?
I mean, and they have so much land to grow their own beef. They don't need our beef.
Yeah,
they got New Zealand beef too. So
yeah, if they've got a lot. If they've got so much that they're exporting to us, I'm guessing why would they import our beef? That makes no sense. That'd be like we import bananas from Somalia, but Somalia never buys our bananas.
Australia has maintained a ban on importing U.S. beef since 2003, following the detection of bovine spongiform encephalopathy,
it's
BSE, commonly known as mad cow disease in the United States. This measure is part of Australia's stringent biosecurity policies aimed at protecting its livestock industry and public health.
Wow. They banned our beef for BSE. So it's not, so the two things that he's mentioning here have nothing to do with tariffs is what seems to be the case here.
Yeah. In 2024, Australia exported approximately 400,000 tons of beef to the United States. The U.S. argues that its beef meets international safety standards and poses no risk to Australian consumers and livestock. Have you heard about our influenza problem?
Heard about our mad cow problem? Remember when they sued Oprah because she says she doesn't want to eat cows anymore? I wonder how. That's a little. That's a thing. Okay, hold on.
They're farmers, and you know what? I don't blame them, but we're doing the same thing right now, starting about midnight tonight, I would say.
Midnight tonight. Yes.
And China charges American rice farmers an overquota, it's called, a tariff rate of 65%. South Korea charges 50%. Actually, they charge different, from 50% to 513%. And Japan.
Hold on, 50 to 513%? That's a big gap. I think he just tried to cover up the fact. Rice.
Rice. Okay.
which is another. Of course, we do grow rice in America. We grow it in California.
California, Central Valley, great rice
hmm
crops,
We
especially
do
near
grow rice. Yes.
Sacramento.
Yeah, we're rice growers. We love it. We in the United States, in the southern United States, we also grow rice. But of course, China grows rice. Why would they buy it from us? We consume more. Okay.
A friend charges us 700%, but that's because they don't want us selling rice. Another thing. Who can blame them, Madam Secretary? Agriculture, great job you did on eggs, by the way. The egg prices came down 50%.
Great, Brian. Yeah, great job, Brooke Rollins. 50% drop in eggs. Is it true? Have you been out? Is it actually cheaper?
Mm,
50% drop. Is that true?
we'll see how that works out for them.
I just don't believe it, because unless we just imported more that I didn't hear about it. I know we're importing eggs from Europe now, which is not normal, but okay. Seems weird.
Got them down 50%. Once we got involved, they were going through the sky. The egg prices, they were going through the sky, and you did a fantastic job. Now we have lots of eggs, and they're much cheaper, down about 59% now, and they're going
Wow.
down further. We charge
Are they just making numbers up?
So
2
avian influenza is subsiding. In March, only about 2.1 million birds are affected compared to 23 million in January and nearly 13 million in February. Well, I think they're running out of birds to infect, honestly.
Well, also it's April. April generally flu season's coming to an end of all animals, and it'll go back up when the birds start moving around.
Yeah, in October, I suspect it would start going back up again. To mitigate shortages, the US government sought to import eggs from countries like Germany, Italy, Poland, and Sweden, despite challenges such as differing safety standards and high seasonal demand in Europe. These efforts aimed to bolster domestic egg supplies. Reduced consumer demand, elevated egg prices led many consumers to cut back on purchases and seek alternatives. Yes! A study
they're finally
indicated
looking for
that
alternatives.
over 30% of Americans stopped buying eggs due to high costs, prompting retailers to adjust prices downward in response to decreased demand. There you go. 30% of Americans stopped buying eggs. I love it. Like, this is
it's good news.
fantastic. Yeah.
It's almost as if price, just supply and demand works its mysterious way, the invisible hand of capitalism. It says there's a catch. Egg prices are falling, but there's a catch.
Egg prices may finally be giving you a break, according to the Agricultural Department. Wholesale eggs dropped to $3 per dozen, a 9% decline from the previous week. The American Farm Bureau says the lower costs come due to noticeably fewer cases of bird flu. Another factor is that consumers have been buying fewer eggs, which has helped restock supplies. Despite this cost drop, egg prices are still historically high. The Consumer Price Index says eggs are nearly 59% more expensive than they were this time last year.
Okay, so they're cheaper than they were, but they're still 60% higher than they were last year.
I feel like this is just like gas prices. Like, I remember when gas was like $1 a gallon, and then it was $3 a gallon seemed outrageous. Then we just got used to it, and then I bought an electric car.
I remember when when First Lady Hillary Clinton was floating the idea of universal health care, and the sticking point was that gas prices would go up to $4 a gallon, and that was just crazier than anyone could imagine.
Yeah.
And here we are at $4, $5 a gallon.
I have no idea how much gas is. Sorry.
Well, you don't drive around and look at things. You just.
I don't. I should, but I don't actually. Well, every now and then when I rent a car, I have to.
I always look. I always swing by the egg aisle and go, $12
I look at it, but I don't really remember the prices. I usually just go like, oh, it's empty. That's good.
Yeah, I guess so. I saw this thing. I guess it is usually empty. I guess it's interesting that it's often empty. I saw this thing. You mentioned the Germans. So we just saw an American egg farm right there, egg producer. Look what the Germans ones look like.
Wow. I don't know if I believe it completely, honestly, because I've seen lots of news footage where it shows like talking about the bird flu crisis, and it's like showing chickens in a field and something similar to this. So
Yeah, I mean, Germany, though, they're pretty hardcore when it
Die
comes to these
Nachfrage
things.
zur Osterzeit ist natürlich ganz, ganz hoch,
They're saying
da
that they
viele
also,
Kinder natürlich Eier bemalen wollen zu dieser Zeit. Ist auch eine Tradition in Deutschland. So kenne ich es als Kind auch. Und von daher ist das ja eigentlich
so they're saying that, yeah, that they do actually paint eggs in Germany too. It's not just an American thing. So the prices are
die
going up
Zeit der
too.
Eier.
This is the time for
Wir
eggs.
müssen selbst täglich Eier aus Holland im Wesentlichen importieren, um alle zufrieden zu kriegen.
We have to import eggs from Holland in order to fulfill demands. It's
Also es ist schwierig, schon allein das Produktionsvolumen. Wir haben
we have
rund 45
45
Millionen Eier, die wir
million
täglich
eggs.
in den Hühnerställen.
Okay, so 45 million eggs that are collected every day in Germany from the chickens, but America wants 50 million a day to consume. That's insane to me. 50 million a day is what they want. So they don't have enough. So now they're importing from Holland. Where does it stop?
Sammeln können. Ja, und in Amerika fehlen am Tag.
Interesting thing about Germany, Germany implemented stringent measures to enhance chicken welfare. In 2021, the German Bundestag passed legislation banning the culling of
You
male
said that
chicks.
well.
A practice, I took a semester of German, a practice common
Ach
in
so.
the egg industry. This law took effect on January 1st, 2022, positioning Germany as a pioneer in the area. I actually quit my semester of German because I just couldn't. So I don't think I actually finished my semester of German.
Ach du
But I
liebe
did go to
Güte.
Germany and I tried to speak German.
Was
Bitte
eine
Toilette,
Schande.
that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted I knew that they did that because when I lived in Germany, they were saying that they were. I was there way before 2021, but they were already like pushing how much space they all have, and like it was a very big discussion. And there was even talk. There was this joke going around that a German chicken gets more space than a German shepherd. Like a dog, that there isn't any there's not much. But then when I lived in Germany, they passed a law saying that every dog by law had to be walked 3 times a day.
3 times a day. Honestly, my dog didn't even get that.
Yeah, that was they passed a law saying that every dog had to be walked 3 times a day.
Wow.
Which not against. I think they should pass laws about the way people treat their animals at home. I think it's crazy. What who knows, how do you enforce a law like that? You get other issues, but I think that saying it and making a law is important. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this thing. We don't need to watch this whole thing, but I just wanted to show you this little machine they have here. Okay, so here's the little thing right here.
Nimmt man das Ei aus dem Legenest, so zum Beispiel tun wir es und verändern es aber nicht. Und packen es dann eigentlich unverändert, also nicht gewaschen wie in Amerika, direkt in die Packung und dann geht es direkt bei uns in den Eiautomaten.
Okay, so he says that we don't we're not changing anything about the eggs. We change nothing about the eggs. We don't even wash them like in America. We take them right out of the nest, stick them in the box, and put it right into this. That's it. Yeah. There's gonna be feathers and poop on it because there's not that much poop on it. If you're cleaning your chicken coops, like the one behind me, if you're keeping chickens like this, of course there's poop all over everything, but anyway, they're not allowed to wash the eggs. I think that's pretty awesome.
Interesting. Germany's animal welfare is governed by the German Animal Welfare Act, which mandates that animals must be provided with food, care, and housing appropriate to their species and behavior. It also prohibits restricting an animal's movement in any way that causes pain or suffering. As an EU member, Germany adheres to broader European regulations that set welfare standards for poultry, including directives on stocking densities, lighting, and environmental enrichment. But in the United States, there's no federal law specifically governing the on-farm treatment of chickens. Welfare standards are primarily guided by industry-developed guidelines and third-party certification programs. So there you
Yeah,
go.
or increasingly state law, right? State law is starting to pick up the slack, like with the gestation crate Prop 9 and all of that.
Prop 12
12, I mean, sorry,
and Prop
12.
2. Prop 2 and Prop 12, which
Yeah.
they're trying to overturn those with using the Farm Bill right now, with the Eats Act language in the Farm Bill. So
I don't think they're going to get it done, though. I mean, they're going to trample all over state rights. All those Republicans are going to just trample all over state rights when all this time they've been professing that this is the future.
it's, that Cargill will make sure that their interests are protected. As we have seen, even RFK was like, if we vaccinate the chickens, we'll just make them into mutation factories. Meanwhile, Brooke Rollins like, yes, RFK is right. Meanwhile, here's $100 million to develop poultry vaccines. Like,
Yeah.
they're going to say the things that are going to make their people happy. Meanwhile, they're going to give the money to the corporations. Like, that's how this
we keep on saying mutation factories, but I looked at it today and he said mutant factories, which I think is even better that he said mutant factories because, of course, the malapropism is always fun, but it also reminds me of, like Professor X and the X-Men, the mutant
factories.
The mutant factories, exactly. Yeah, RFK Jr., you're absolutely right. He wants to lay off everyone in bird flu leadership. They're saying that they want to vaccinate, but he doesn't want to do that either. He doesn't want to vaccinate now, he says. So I don't know. But
I'd like to pull up my thing.
There's spikes here and here.
While the boring part starts, I'll just introduce this.
Okay.
Business Insider came with me to the Central Valley of California and made this little video about bird flu and why eggs cost so much. But it also includes a lot of stuff about me and my documentation of bird flu. So we'll just watch here.
Which really is unprecedented.
And politicians blaming each other isn't solving the problem.
The Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens.
So, President Trump, what's your plan to stop the spread of bird flu?
If the outbreak isn't contained soon, egg prices
we should stop it so that we don't get blocked.
Yeah, I like the little free advertisement they're doing for Waffle House. I wonder how much they paid for that. Do you think they're in cahoots or what?
There's lots of free advertisement for certain companies in this, which, see if you notice, and not free advertisement for other companies, which are do some advertising. So yeah, we'll watch
the record high reached in February 2025 of
a lot of Lucerne free advertising. I'll just say that.
$6 a dozen, double the price from 1 year earlier. Of course, that's just an average. You've probably seen shelves filled with $8 or even $10 cartons.
Okay, here we go.
This is footage you took right here, isn't it?
The camera person who was with me, the filmmaker Austin Meyer, came with me to the Central Valley, and we went by Central Valley Eggs, and this was the dairy right across the street from Central Valley Eggs, the big poultry facility that you went by, where we photographed workers cleaning up the depopulation without wearing any masks. And this is the dairy across the street, and we literally saw, you can see this cow showing her white belly here. That cow is dead.
Oh my gosh.
This cow, it looks like they're giving some sort of medication or fluids to this cow. And yeah, we just sat there, and I'm so glad they got this footage. He got a ton of footage I didn't realize he captured, and we'll watch that. Wow. But I'm so grateful for Business Insider for publishing this, and you'll see a lot of it. And they have 10 million subscribers on, their social
hopefully
media.
help to get the word out. I love it.
This is really good.
And the bird flu is wreaking havoc on more than.
And see, this is Central Valley Eggs, and some of they didn't mention, unfortunately, that the workers were not wearing masks.
Just chicken.
Yay, Austin's in the chat.
Austin's in the chat. There he is, Austin Meyer.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love this, like, so dramatic. Put your camera down. Like,
Yeah. When I watched this, I thought it was so funny because it was like, put your camera down.
I know
Yeah.
my goal usually with this sort of stuff is to be just very boring, like Jane Goodall. We're just doing scientific work here. We're not doing anything. It's not like the classic, like, animal rights people, like, stay in your teams, like, very
Yeah.
trying to be like the CIA or some sort of like operative. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, I'm not sensationalizing anything here.
No,
This is just,
but you are I think that I think you've taken your security culture training seriously, because when I was in the Central Valley, we switched to disappear in 4 days or whatever. Like, and when I saw that, oh, okay, we're disappearing in 4 days. And that's
no, that's
good.
just, if you do something stupid, I don't want anybody to think that we're talking like,
I'm always doing something stupid. That's just me. No, I think it's perfect. That I take security culture pretty seriously, so I don't mind. But
yeah.
I totally got this is something that I'm used to. From put your camera down, look over, don't say anything while they're over. Yeah, it's nice.
Well, the thing is here, like, I'm not that worried about people seeing me do this because this is not illegal.
Right.
This is
Nothing
completely on the
illegal
up and
about this.
up.
Yeah.
The only reason I said, like, put your cameras down is because I wanted to stay there longer. And if they saw us there with and I was in a big Dodge Ram pickup truck
Mm-hmm.
for the purpose
Did they see
of
you?
just giving, like, we are supposed to be their vibes. Like, we are
Mhm.
supervisors. We're just observing. We're workers in the area, like, whatever. We belong there. But you bring out the cameras and suddenly you look like you don't belong.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be able to stay there longer. So and I saw somebody down the road. So I was like, just put your camera down. Like, it's just so we can, that's
This
all.
is why
It
I'm
wasn't
bringing.
like I'm worried about them seeing me photograph them, but there's also just an aspect of wanting to stay there longer and not get kicked out.
I'm gonna bring my high vis vest to New York, because it also, when you have the high vis vest, everyone's just like, oh yeah, he belongs here.
Yeah.
Clipboard, high vis vest, you can go anywhere.
Construction hat.
Yeah. Construction hat's great. Yeah.
But I love, like, the sign with Central Valley Eggs. That's the only time you'll see sort of a business implicated and shown in a negative light here.
No
So
trespass
why
are.
is this bird flu outbreak so bad? And how long can we expect eggs to be this expensive? The
Oh, look at those birds.
H5N1 avian flu usually starts in wild migratory birds. If other birds come into contact with infected birds or contaminated
This graphic is
surfaces,
great, I
they
think.
catch it too. The virus then copies itself rapidly, attacking multiple organs. And at large poultry farms, chickens are kept in such close proximity that the virus can spread.
Look at this. I love you get the real
Yeah,
imagery of how these chickens are raised. This is perfect.
That's closer to what Central Valley looks like. Although Central Valley has caged and non-caged birds. They do both. Most places do. They
Do
do
they?
both, right?
I don't know.
They have,
I'm not. All I know of Central Valley is I've seen on their website they're one of the largest cage-free egg facilities in the country.
I'm almost positive, and I'm 99% sure that they do all of them. They do cage-free, organic, cage-free. They do all of the different ones because they've diversified, right? Most of the big ones, they do every type. I mean, how would you feel if you were one of the chickens where you're the caged one, and then there's the cage-free one, and then there's the cage-free organic one? Are they treated differently in each building? I don't think they're treated that differently, but it looks differently the way they're treated.
Between them.
Yeah.
The flu is so severe in chickens that entire flocks can die within 48 hours of infection. Federal policy requires all the birds in a flock be killed if just one tests positive for avian flu. So far, farmers have had to kill more than 170 million birds.
In 2015, that number was in the 50 million range.
Culling hens will raise egg and chicken prices in the short term, but it stops the flu in its tracks. Then farmers can rebuild.
These guys with the rakes.
Yeah, like, oh, this is the kind of grueling aspect of cage-free eggs, is you have workers having to do this.
Yeah, he's got bird flu for sure.
Well, I don't know. We don't want to assume things. We're
Not assuming.
non-sensationalizing.
Well, it's pretty sensational. He's got a rake and he's
obviously like, this isn't an avian influenza positive place. Because they're actively, I don't know. This is just a regular facility. I don't know how they
not detected. They have not detected this. Maybe it's stock footage they got from, or maybe it's footage they took from a different visit and something. I don't know. Business Insider does. Maybe Austin could share light on it. Where did you get the extra footage?
Yeah, we want to know.
Yeah.
But I was on a call recently and they gave me the stats on the call, and I thought I was having my note taker take notes, but my note taker didn't record it. But they gave some really interesting stats about the caged hens. The caged facilities have had many more avian influenza outbreaks, or many more birds cold, than the cage-free facilities, and organic facilities even like lower numbers than that. So they're kind of make the argument that like that's one reason why we need to transition to cage-free organic facilities. That's one way to attack, and this is kind of like a Prop 2, Prop 12 sort of tactics of like just making
Would
it
higher welfare chicken production lead to lower cases of bird flu is the question.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. It seems to be the case here, but we'll see.
I guess, like, we know that viruses hate distance. They do. Like, the more distance you have between you and other people, the lower the risk of you grabbing that virus from them, right? So I guess the same thing would be true for chickens, right? Theoretically.
Like social distancing a little bit.
Yeah.
With the chickens. Yeah.
Yeah. So distance of social distancing for chickens.
And I'm sure like if they're less stressed, they're less likely to be susceptible to these things. But how much?
I suppose, but how could you make it less stress and still consume 50 million chicken eggs a day? That's just
it's just
the average American's eating almost 300. It's like 255 eggs a year. In Mexico, crazy. They're eating 350 a year per person. Man. You can't consume that many eggs and be
let's see.
High welfare.
Austin says the footage in this story of the chickens comes from wire services, Reuters, news organizations pay annual subscription to wire services to get access to the library footage. Some of the footage, and then some of the footage is our footage. So this footage was
during the outbreak 10 years ago.
Poultry
producers did just that.
I gotta research more. How do I get my footage into the Reuters AP stuff?
How do you get your footage into AP? That's a good question for ChatGPT.
And it worked. So why isn't it working now? Well, for the first time ever, the avian flu has been found in.
And this cow, I shot this. This is a calf with no ear tag, just outside of J.G. Boswell's cotton mill.
Mm-hmm.
No dairies around anywhere, or any. It's just a weird photo and so you see all the cotton around.
Yeah, the cotton mills over there.
Scientists.
Yeah, J.G. Boswell. He was like he owns basically Tulare Lake, like the 512,000 acres of what used to be Tulare Lake, and he is like one of the biggest private farmers in the country, and is really responsible for draining Tulare Lake and pretty much decimating the Tachi people who used to survive off of Tulare Lake, which was the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi, or one of the.
He also handled Charlie's Angels, Boswell. Wasn't Boswell the guy who handled Charlie's Angels?
I don't know that. I don't know my Charlie's Angels lore.
That's okay. Who
Believe
cares?
infected cows can pass the
why
virus to
Charles
healthy
Angel's lore.
poultry flocks.
Boss.
And the risk is higher
So
when
this
dairy
is,
farms and poultry farms.
you'll
Yeah,
see
there.
Central Valley Eggs,
Mhm.
Poso Creek Family Dairy right there.
Right next to each other.
Farms are
How
near each other, like they are here. That's made it a lot harder to contain the spread.
Because the more movement that you have of the virus,
Abrar
the more
Quran,
replication
a
of the
hero.
virus, the more chances the virus has to mutate and adapt to a new host.
A host like us.
Okay, so yeah, this is the cow that was getting fluids or some sort of medication next to the. This is right across from Central Valley
Because
Eggs.
cows and humans have a few things in common.
They've had very high levels of virus, like in their
Oh,
udders.
this part
And what
about
we
the
know is that
eyeballs.
the types of receptors that they have in their udders
Mhm.
are receptors that are found both in human eyes, human
What
upper
the hell?
respiratory tract, and
Yeah.
human lower respiratory tract.
That's
And
how you get
depending on how it
mammalian
mutates,
adapted
there's
influenza.
different concerns that come.
Look at this guy. We
They've
need to
got
get
it-
this guy on TV more. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's got because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Both around how communicable it is.
he reminds me
between
of
people,
Peter
and then
Lorre.
how deadly it is, how likely it could.
Peter Lorre. I don't know.
You never seen Peter Lorre? He was in a movie called Casablanca. Have you ever seen Casablanca? Help me, Rick.
Oh,
Help me. Help me, Rick. Please
exactly.
take these papers, Rick. And it was the thing that caused the whole.
Cause
He's huge.
pneumonias and kill people.
He looks like Peter Lorre.
Out of 70 human cases reported
Help
so
me, Rick.
far in the United States, there has been one death, a resident of Louisiana. Almost 60%.
Look at that footage. Look at that. I hope people look at this and go, "Oh my God."
This is
Like,
where your milk's coming from.
Seriously.
It is hideous. Look, it goes as far as the horizon. You know, it goes. These buildings go all the way back. It really is horrible.
Yeah. Abrar is great. We follow each other on Twitter. And he does great stuff.
I did pre-interviews with multi-academics before choosing
These
Abrar
cases
as the
came
right
from
voice of the
exposure
story.
to cattle.
Yeah, he's good.
The Centers for
I remember this footage that I took. Oh, that was
Oh,
Harris
Harris
Ranch.
Ranch. I went to Harris
Yeah.
Ranch. Yeah, I've been to Harris Ranch. Horrific.
This though, I remember this cow. You look at her leg. Like she's
Yeah.
clearly got
She's
some
been-
pain
Disease
in her
Control
hind
and
leg there.
Prevention
She's lifting
says
it
the
up.
current public health risk for
Mhm.
humans is low. But Crystal Heath, a veterinarian, is skeptical of this messaging. We followed Crystal, who has been photographing
Crystal.
dairy and poultry farms in California to document and expose the
Okay, you see they're not
severity
wearing
of the
masks.
outbreak.
Did they come at you? Because when I was at Central Valley, they came up. Like the general manager came out. What you doing here? What you doing? How do I get you to stop taking pictures? I'm like, well, it's my right. I'm not on your land.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really like stick around too long, but there was a instance when I heard somebody yell, "Hey, they're recording us." And unfortunately that didn't get recorded. And drove back a few times trying to get them to say other stuff, but no.
Can't get them to exclaim more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get-
please.
The element of surprise. Yeah. Do it again.
Today we're driving by some of the dairies and poultry facilities that I've been by before. Last time I was there, I filmed aborted fetuses on the ground, cows with a lot of nasal discharge, and cows breathing rapidly. I don't know for sure.
This thing with the tongue. This is like, what's going on with this animal's tongue?
That's
He's
tongue
like-
rolling. That's a stereotypic behavior, usually from when they don't it can be from like weaning them too young. It can be from like just their lack of access to forage. They do that. You know, there's no grass for them to graze on. They can eat their silage and stuff, but it's just not stimulating enough for them. So the Jersey cows especially have higher rates of that tongue rolling behavior, but it is a stereotypic behavior meant that they do to cope with stress.
It's like horses, how they bite their stalls and then they
Cribbing,
hyperventilate and get themselves high. Cribbing, is that what it's called?
That's what's called cribbing, yeah. Or wind sucking.
Wind sucking, yeah, and they get high by
Those are all signs of avian influenza. Yeah. This is by Pittman Family Farms. That's my little truck there.
You guys had the drone follow you around, huh? Nice.
We can't see the implications of the outbreak in poultry flocks because they're hidden away. But with avian influenza in dairy cows, they're out
So we
in
should
the open.
describe what those people are doing, though. Like those people in those egg production places that Crystal's photographing, they're not picking eggs right now. They're retooling the entire place after they've already depopulated. Like there are no chickens in those places right now. And those people are cleaning up a mess of dead chickens. And at this point, all the dead chickens are gone, but they're redoing everything inside because they've got to wait and they're working in there. And a lot of them aren't wearing any protective gear. You could see they're wearing white stuff over. They're wearing overalls, but they're not wearing any masks, half of them.
Some are wearing masks. So clearly it's like, some think it's important, some don't.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're doing in that facility. Like, are they rebuilding it? It was depopulated back in November, and we go by every few weeks to see what's up, and it's a lot of cleaning up, or I don't know if they're also
I'm
doing
almost positive.
construction.
Well, I know that during the pandemic, when we closed all the restaurants, what we did was call exterminators, call plumbers, call anybody we could to get work done that we can't. Because that's the thing. Restaurants and casinos and these types of places, they never want to close. It costs you a lot of money. So like when I worked in Vegas, we would close the restaurants at like 3 a.m. because that was just the lowest amount of business, but we're still losing thousands of dollars an hour. So we have to clean it fast. We got to do everything. So if you want to replace machinery or replace a dishwasher or re-varnish something, you do it when you have issues like this. When you're forced to close, you try to make lemonade out of those lemons. So I know that's what they're doing. They're repairing coops. They're repairing conveyor belts if they have them. They're doing any kind of maintenance that they can that has probably been ignored for years because they never close.
Yeah. So that's it.
It's easy to drive
that's
by
in
any
Tulare
facility and see for yourself what's happening.
Mendoza.
And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of footage in the media showing sick cows.
The fact these cows have spray paint on them, like just insult to injury.
Take exit 85 toward Page Avenue.
Just spray painting the cows, so disgusting.
So we're just gonna see. Sometimes I don't see any signs of illness until I actually photograph them. Oh, oops. Put your camera down.
You're like Kip and Cam getting this is like Cowspiracy where they're chasing us. The CIA is on our backs.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cheese it up.
No. Is that a drone? Who's watching us? Like in Cowspiracy when the drone's outside of his apartment and he's going, the Catholic Church is spying on us.
Oh, look at that. That's a dead cow. I don't think they ever say that that's a dead cow, but that's a dead cow that cow's licking.
The cow's licking a dead cow. It's so sad.
Drinking out of the water troughs and pooping in the water troughs, so they could potentially spread this disease to the cows.
I mean, and okay, like for the record, like we know that there were reintroductions of bird flu to dairy herds 3 times. And it used to be like, we thought it was just like one introduction of bird flu into the cattle herd, and then the cows spread it that way. So like, it's a little controversial to say like the birds pooping and everything could spread it to the cow. And I get that. But also I should have mentioned the birds, you'll see they're picking up the cow stuff, and the cows.
The birds are getting it from the cows.
Wild birds.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing. I mean, the cows can give it to the wild birds and then spread it to the poultry facilities, which we know has happened. We know that the cows have spread it to the poultry facilities.
Well, also, every time I've seen the birds, I've seen the cows eating, they've got their faces in the feed, in these mountains of feed, and the birds are littering it. I mean, you say
Mhm.
like the birds are eating the feed,
Yeah,
sure, but
and
they're
pooping.
swarming on the feed.
Yeah,
They are
yeah.
in the feed.
Dying in the feed, and the
They're
cows
yeah,
eat
the
the
birds
dead
are
birds, and
literally I
yeah,
mean, actually happening, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
And it's like,
and there's so much
how
standing water. There's so much standing water. These mud fields. There's standing water everywhere, and there is virus in urine. And so
Mhm.
these animals are urinating all over in these standing pools of water with no irrigation or drainage whatsoever.
Yeah,
And you can
urinating, and you'll see
hear all of the
placenta-ing
birds in the
all over.
Yes,
background.
placenta. There it is, right there. Yeah,
Mhm.
And
an
also
animal with the
hear
placenta falling out of
the
a.
cannon. That is a loud boom trying
And look
to
at this. Look
deter
at this.
the
It's a
bird.
vulture.
Vulture
The
eating
birds
like
seem
placenta.
unimpressed by the cannon, but you could see how avian influenza
Ugh.
could spread from the birds to dairies like this.
The vulture's probably
Or
got
back
the
from dairies to wild birds, I wish I said too, but maybe I don't know.
the
Can't include
vulture.
everything.
The vulture's probably
Business
the only
Insider
animal whose
cannot
stomach acid
confirm
could
that
handle it.
all of these dairy farms have had avian flu outbreaks. But as of April 2nd, 990.
And this shot of this truck delivering cows was
Mhm.
to that facility with that dead cow, and that cow processing the placenta and everything. So
And these
they're
are new
getting in
heifers.
more cows from somewhere else, and I think they were loading up. I don't know. I don't remember exactly,
Well,
but yeah,
Six dairy herds in the
they
U.S.
don't have the
had contracted
giant
bird
udders.
flu.
I'm guessing these are
Over
yeah,
heifer
heifer.
delivery.
75% of them were in California.
Look at that. I hope people are
Oh my
impressed by
god!
that. How big that is.
Just
All those little dots are all cows. Just how many tens of thousands of cows?
we talk all the time about environmental, carbon sinks and stuff. If that were covered in grass and not covered in animals, that would be better for the environment. I mean, it would just be. They should be covered in trees or whatever the hell
Mhm.
else, something else that would normally grow there. Instead, look what we've done.
But the
It's
cows
just,
are
it
eating
looks like the Matrix.
grass that's
Oh
harvested
yeah,
and
they're
then fed to the
they're grass fed.
cows, cows
Yeah.
don't create new carbon that didn't previously exist in the first place. Am I right?
Yeah,
Anyway.
right. Yeah, when people say those things, it's just it just belies an entire, just an utter ignorance, no pun intended, of the way the ecosystem works. Like that cows aren't adding any more carbon dioxide. Literally, they are. And
Well,
we have
they're
to,
adding methane too,
yes,
which is how much ChatGPT, how much is more
it's like 3 or 4 times worse
yeah, but it's
yeah,
shorter lived.
greenhouse gas.
Yeah, sure. But
Mhm.
also we have to consider the water usage, and
Right.
obviously Tulare Lake was completely drained for agriculture. Now we're doing the same thing to the Colorado River to grow
To water these
food
cows
to
and
feed
grow
these
alfalfa for
cows.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
And there's no
Yeah, and it seems
incentive
like
of corporations to plan. There's a lot of wishful thinking of corporations like this will always be this way. We can always expand markets. But,
right.
corporations think short-term profits, usually not long-term.
And I can't tell what kind of greenery that is back there, but I know that a lot of these the dairies actually own the almond farms as well.
Mhm.
They're the same people who own the almond milk. It's
Yeah,
just
because
like they're hedging their
they
bets
feed the almond
on the
holes to
husks,
the
right?
dairy
The holes.
cows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They feed the holes to the dairy cows, and they're still able to
You
make
have
milk and sell it
thousands
to the
of
same
highly
distributor.
stressed animals housed in these facilities in close contact with human beings. This is the perfect environment for viruses to mutate and potentially jump to humans.
They're mutant factories.
It's
They're
hard,
mutant.
even under the best circumstances. A lot of these facilities are implementing all of the biosecurity protocols available to them, and they are still having outbreaks.
Yes, highlight that. Like, they are doing This is what I want to
Mm-hmm.
emphasize. These facilities are doing everything they can, and they're still having outbreaks.
Mm-hmm.
Prove me wrong. Like, what biosecurity improvements do you want? And tell us, like, what were the lapses? What do you hope to improve? Like, give us the data on this. I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
think your plan
if
to increase biosecurity is going to work that well.
they say they want more biosecurity, like smart perimeters and stuff, but like we do have that. I don't know what they're trying to. This doesn't make any sense.
I'm sure there are
I mean,
lapses in some places. I'm sure
biosecurity. They're recalling pet food.
They're recalling what? What did you
They're
say?
recalling pet food. You know, like I was just saying that they're recalling pet food, and they're saying that there's a biosecurity. Like, there you go. There's your biosecurity. I'm just racking my brain. Like, what biosecurity are they not doing? Well, they're feeding raw food to pets, and they're recalling in multiple states. They're recalling pet food.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I'm just trying to think, like, what biosecurity measures can they increase? And that would be the big one, right? Like, stop selling, like, outlaw raw milk and food and dairy
Yeah.
and flesh. Like,
But I'm talking like at the farm, a
I know
facility
you are.
level. What could they possibly be doing? What are the lapses there? Like, as far as workers tracking things in, are workers working in multiple places the same day? Are there holes, and is food have access to wild animals and things like that? I think a lot of these places are doing everything they can, and they're still having problems because this is just an inherently risky business model. And it's like kind of 80-20, like how we could invest so much money in making these facilities just airtight, but how much more is that going to get us? Like, just in given human nature, and mistakes happen, and I don't know, you have biological beings here. I think the best biosecurity is moving away from this method of protein production.
Right. The best biosecurity would be
Experts say there's no
nowhere
reason
near
as
each
of
other like
yet to
this.
believe you can get bird flu from drinking
Stop warehousing
pasteurized
animals.
milk or eating beef.
We have just not seen anyone get sick by that route.
But egg prices are at record highs, cows are getting sick, and humans could be at risk. What can we do? There is one other option: vaccination. But producers are worried this would ruin their ability to trade internationally. Trade partners refuse to buy vaccinated poultry because, in theory, those birds might not exhibit symptoms but could still carry and spread the disease. The Congressional Chicken Caucus says that losing access to the export market could mean an annual economic loss of $10 billion.
I'll take it. I think it's worth it.
$10 billion. You think it's worth it?
No, I'm just anything to cost the industry money, I'm down for. But it seems like, well, look, like we've only spent $2 billion on this outbreak. If they're saying it'll cost $10 billion
in losses,
I think we're not going to end up vaccinating poultry birds.
Although it seems to be an interesting. So Donald Trump is saying he's going to throw $1 billion at the bird flu problem, which I don't know where he's getting the $1 billion, but while he's laying off all these people from HHS and CDC, and the bird flu experts have just been laid off from the HHS, so it's worrisome. But I mean, I was reading today, I was looking at articles about bird flu, and there was an article in Great Lakes Now that came out today advocating for immunization. They're all talking about, like, there's now, this is the controversy, right? Where some states are they want to vaccinate and other states don't. So does that become another states' rights issue? What if the chicken farms or the egg producers around the Great Lakes area, like Idaho, what if they do it and then other states don't? What does that look like?
Well, I think these countries ban imports countrywide. So even if just one state does it, then the entire country couldn't export to those other countries. So
Indiana and Ohio, according to this article, which generate between 10.6 billion from Indiana and 11.8 billion eggs in Ohio per year. They are both talking about they've seen H5 outbreaks, and they're talking about vaccinating. The federal response, the U.S. Department of Agriculture hasn't signaled a large-scale vaccination of laying hens in forthcoming. However, it announced an investment of $100 million in researching biosecurity, outbreak response, therapeutics, and vaccine candidates. Like, it just seems like we're asleep at the wheel on this in so many ways. Like, I think what's weird, though, Crystal, we're talking about, okay, well, let's have alternatives. But now they're finally starting to talk about alternatives. In everything I watched today, they talked about alternatives.
Like what kind of alternatives are you talking about?
Well, for Easter, they're saying to paint. To paint. Yeah, they're saying buy some plastic eggs. Stop using eggs. They said paint potatoes. They're easy to paint. Paint potatoes and have some fun. Start using. I haven't heard anyone say tofu scramble, but I don't know why we're not just saying tofu scramble everywhere.
Yeah.
Just egg if you want, if you got the money for it, but tofu's cheap. And tofu scrambles are delicious.
$1 billion strategy, $500 million is going to enhancing biosecurity measures. This includes deploying epidemiologists to conduct thorough audits and assessments, particularly focusing on egg layer facilities to provide actionable recommendations for mitigating H5N1. This includes wildlife biosecurity assessments. USDA will extend its wildlife biosecurity assessments to poultry producers nationwide, beginning with egg layer facilities. These assessments focus on safeguarding farms from transmission by wild birds identified as the source of 83% of HPAI cases. The USDA plans to deploy 20 trained epidemiologists to conduct comprehensive biosecurity audits and wildlife assessments. These experts will provide actionable and timely advice to producers on reducing HPAI risks to their facilities. Financial support for biosecurity improvements, cost-sharing measures. To address identified biosecurity vulnerabilities, the USDA will share up to 75% of the costs for implementing necessary improvements. I don't think my taxpayer dollars should go to Cal-Maine Foods, who's making record profits, so that they can enhance their biosecurity on their facilities. That's a business risk. Like, why does the government have to subsidize that? I think that's ridiculous.
It's utterly ridiculous. I don't think that we should have, any of us should have to pay for these idiots and their risky businesses, their risky business practices. They're the ones that made this problem. And now the chickens have already paid the ultimate price. Why are we all having to pay the price?
And financial relief for affected farmers, $400 million. A substantial portion is allocated to support farmers impacted by the virus. This involves increasing indemnity payments to those compelled to cull their flocks due to infections.
And they're repeat offenders. A lot of those people getting money from the government, those indemnity payments, they're multiple indemnity payments. They just do it. They do the same thing again and again. They keep getting paid.
Yeah.
Like, change your practices.
Avian flu has already spread.
Also, you said in the beginning, okay, so 30% of people have just stopped eating eggs. 30%. A 30% decrease in egg sales. Well, that could be just because people are price sensitive, but clearly it's not a necessity. Right? People had to choose between toothpaste and eggs. They chose toothpaste.
Yeah. And we found that with all animal-based proteins is that they're elastic with respect to cost. So if we did increase the cost of these things, stopped subsidizing them, people would choose alternatives.
To every continent but Australia.
I hope they realize that actually wild bird migration patterns, wild bird flocks, even without vaccination, the chance is still there that you're going to import or there will be spillover in some manner. If the detection is a problem, then you need to have better protocols in place for surveillance of imported poultry in general.
An Empire penguin swam to Australia last year, and it was 10,000 miles or something stupid amount of distance that this penguin covered. Birds move around, and penguins have bird flu. So, it's just ludicrous.
The Secretary of Health and Human Services for the Trump administration, who's known for stating misinformation about vaccines, claimed vaccination would turn those birds into mutant factories.
Mutant
He
factories.
suggested letting the virus run its course without intervention.
You know what else causes mutant factories is unregulated spread, because you have ongoing
Look
mutations,
at those birds.
you have ongoing spillovers. People have thought about this.
Our animal-based protein production facilities are gain of function in real life. IRL gain of function research, right there.
For vaccinating humans at times too, right? There is, of course, a risk because viruses will then continue to replicate, continue to mutate. But that has never been an argument to not vaccinate people or anybody. We still have a goal that is a reasonable goal, which is to reduce morbidity, reduce mortality.
RFK Jr.'s comments came as the USDA announced an additional investment of $1 billion to combat bird flu, with $100 million dedicated exclusively to vaccine research. The Biden administration spent just over $2 billion on managing the outbreak with limited success. But these billions aren't just about finding a solution.
These companies that do this and have to exterminate their birds due to avian influenza get millions of dollars in taxpayer subsidized bailouts.
The recent USDA investment allocates 40% of the funds to compensate producers for their losses. Critics think this could disincentivize poultry producers from changing their farming practices.
Yes, exactly.
It's important for people to remember that when you have a lot of money on the line, health often will be second until there's no choice, until a lot of people get very sick quickly, and now you really have to do something about it.
This just reminds me of
Several
lead.
poultry
Lead
farmers
in the
declined
gas,
to speak
lead in
with
the
Business
paint.
Insider for this story, with many citing concerns of retaliation and losing contracts with clients. The Department of Justice recently launched an investigation into price gouging by large egg producers, including withholding supply to keep prices high. All the while, restaurants and consumers are struggling to manage. Tribeca Park Cafe in New York City had to raise the price of the classic bacon, egg, and cheese by 75 cents.
Maybe we should get an alternative to the bacon, egg, and cheese, huh?
I know, yeah. How about
Business Insider articles about the rising price of eggs to try to explain this decision to customers. Still, it didn't go well.
We lost about close to half pigs.
Across the country,
they lost. Did you make out what he said?
He said half.
Half.
He's lost half of his business.
Well, if you don't go woke, you go broke, I guess. I don't know.
Is it woke to
is it woke to pivot your business when there's
is it woke
increase in yeah, I don't know.
To adapt to the business pressures and the prevailing winds? I'm sorry. Some businesses go out of business. This is the way capitalism works. Am I supposed to feel sorry for every person who doesn't seem to not want to adapt? Oh, I'm just going to stand right here. Well, no one's buying eggs and bacon anymore. I guess I'm just going to go out of business. That's your fault.
I'm just going to die.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going
restaurants like
to
Waffle
roll
House
over and
have
die.
done the same thing. Bakeries like Norma Sweets in New Orleans are also feeling the heat.
Oh, it's hurting, man. Normally we get them for $35, $40 a case.
$40?
Now we're paying like $118,
Damn.
$120. It's horrible. It's
switch to egg-free ingredients,
Americans
sir.
are seeking out deals on cheap eggs whenever they can.
Absolutely love Costco, so waiting in line is no problem.
This line.
Free advertisement for Costco.
For Costco.
Okay.
Also, this is, I think, one of the Costco guys or something. I don't know. I remember they went viral a while, but what is with people and loving Costco? They don't even play any music in there. Like, they're doing everything they can to make the.
That's why I love Costco. No. No music. Like,
They're doing everything they can to make the shopping experience less bearable. You can't find anything. There's no signs that tell you where to go. It's a horrible experience. And it's
but
all
cheap
just
and bulk.
is it? You pay to get in. How can it be cheap?
Yeah,
It's
I don't shop at Costco because I have no idea.
No. I thought you were saying I love Costco.
I love the idea of no music in the store. Like Christmas time, Christmas music, I just die.
That is, you're right.
Yeah.
That is, it does make me have suicidal thoughts. But Christmas music. But no, I Costco, they've intentionally made it difficult to shop there so that you're stuck looking at you're looking for bargains and you end up buying a trampoline. You know, it's always this. They're very good at the misdirection. It's incredible. But anyway, I just thought it was weird. I love waiting in line at Costco.
Already a line like this.
I love waiting in line
In
there.
2015, it took about 6 months for egg prices to return to pre-outbreak levels. We're in the 3rd year of this recent outbreak in the U.S., and the only relief the egg
Why
market
did it
has
go
seen
down
is a drop in
temporarily?
wholesale
What was
egg
that all
prices.
about?
I think it's bird flu.
But it's unclear if
subsided
and
a
when
bit.
consumers will see lower prices at the grocery store. In fact, in March, the USDA predicted prices would rise 57.6% in 2025. And despite the extra government funding to combat bird flu, widespread layoffs of public health workers could make fighting the disease harder. Harry is more optimistic about egg prices.
Let me kind of go through a really brief little cycle with you. The bird
All right,
flu
Harry.
causes
This is so well done.
supply shock, which causes prices to double, then send market signals to existing egg producers to expand their production to take advantage of the high price. In a funny way, the high prices that we observe right now may cause low prices eventually. Producers right now that have healthy hens, you can bet they're expanding their production.
Still,
They're
infectious
expanding.
disease experts warn that the mutation of the virus makes market recovery more complicated this time around. So is there any way to save money these days?
Stop buying
Trader
eggs.
Joe's, Aldi, and Costco often have the best deals on
Nice
they got
free
free
advertising for
ads.
them.
I do love Trader Joe's, but
eggs. But that doesn't help if you can't find any in stock. What you can find are substitutes, like bananas and flaxseed for baking, chickpea flour for an
What?
omelet.
I don't know.
you don't
Not
like Niners?
those weren't very compelling substitutes. How about some free advertisement for Bob's Red Mill?
Bob's Red Mill egg replacer is so good.
Yeah.
I use it. I use it making French toast. I use Bob's Red Mill egg replacer.
Really? For
Man,
French
I do
toast?
barley milk, egg replacer, cinnamon, sugar, French toast. I'm telling you,
Interesting. All
bomb.
right.
My French toast is fire. Plus, because I mean, the egg is just there to get it to stick, to get all the milk and everything to stick. But barley milk, I've just discovered and love. Flaxseed's great. Flaxseeds is good. They should have consulted me on this line of the script.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like they should have also given free ad to mung bean.
Yeah, just egg. Like how about
just
that?
egg.
Old-fashioned liquid egg.
What
Why
is liquid
that?
egg soup substitute? I think that's still egg.
There's eggs in it. Yeah. Liquid egg substitute still has some egg, but it's like not so much. Like there's way less egg.
And if you're worried about protein, consider other options, like beans, seeds, or nuts.
Like what the hell's this
Or
all about?
tofu,
Wait. Tofu. What happened to tofu?
Like
beans, eggs, nuts. I guess tofu's technically made from soybeans, but I mean they should have definitely put tofu in there because tofu scrambles are fire.
yeah. Soy
And everybody
curls,
knows.
textured vegetable protein.
Soy curls. I get like a 3-month supply for
Yeah.
$45-$50 and it's great.
Check Amazon. You can get a huge thing on Amazon for not very much money. I don't know.
Soy
how much it
curls.
is, but yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I buy them from Amazon, but it's
Oh,
like $50,
okay, cool.
but I get like 3 months worth. Like, because I eat a lot. I put soy curls in a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Also, I make my own seitan. It's super easy to make, and it's even easier because you can just buy Vital Wheat gluten instead of buying flour and then doing the whole process of getting down to the Vital Wheat gluten. You could buy Vital Wheat gluten and make seitan. I made an amazing seitan just a couple days ago. It was so good. I made it yesterday, actually. Yesterday. It takes just a couple hours, but you're pretty much just doing other stuff. I had to pick my battles wisely. Is Austin a plant-based eater, or what's?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Austin's a veg head over there. Nice.
Ready to make the change?
Austin will be at the AVA summit, so
Austin's gonna be at AVA summit. I get to meet Austin in real life. Everybody, I'll be starstruck. Austin, have we met before? Actually, Austin. I don't know. I don't know who I've met and who I haven't met. I'm
Rewriting your
sorry.
favorite recipes to be egg-free might come in handy the next time.
So that right there is called a Cambro. What they're doing right there. That little octagonal, that octothorpe.
Octothorpe.
Yeah, the 8-side. Well, that thing right there. That is a thing called a Cambro, and every restaurant uses them. And we mix up hundreds of eggs sometimes. We mix up everything in a Cambro.
Okay.
Yeah. This is something that I have
Interesting.
a lot of experience with. There you go. Great. Look forward to meeting you, Scott. 7 years vegan. That's a good long time. That's good. That's awesome. I always like meeting a vegan. My VFF, my vegan friend forever. That's cool. How come Austin hasn't been on Sunday school? We should bring you up on the ethical underwear.
Ethical underwear, yeah. That's a good. Why didn't we name it that?
Ethical Underground. You should come on Ethical Underground, formerly known as Vegan Sunday School, Austin. We got to get. Do you have his contact information? Let's talk to Austin. I didn't know he was vegan. Shit, we should be friends. Well, that was good. Good work, everybody. Good work, Austin. Good work, Crystal. That was incredible. I loved it.
Yeah.
Put the camera down. Put that camera down.
I feel like
they're watching us. They're watching us.
I don't know. I know people get lots of clicks for being all sensational and stuff, and it's just not.
We gotta do that in Brooklyn.
Jam.
You did it. What do you mean? That's totally your jam. You did it perfectly. That was your jam. Put your camera. They're coming. Crystal and I are going to New York, everybody, on April 12th, and we hope to see her. We're going to see the wet markets of Brooklyn. We're going to see her give a speech, a talk, as academics like to call them, at LIU and Cornell. If you are going to be in the New York area, please hit us up. You can help out. We can hang out and be fun. But we should totally do that when we go to the wet markets. I'll wear my body cam and my high vis vest, and you can do something where you look back at me like, shut.
Okay. And now that we've said this on the air, people will know it's completely staged and not authentic.
Only the people, there's only 60 people watching. The 60 people who are here, it'll be our secret, okay?
Okay. No, I don't stage anything. I try to be as authentic as possible.
I stage stuff. I'm gonna do it when you've got your camera on me. I'll be like, put that down. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Crystal, Ixnay on the Amra-K. Yes. How do we go? I'm in New York City. We can also visit a sanctuary.
Oh, wow.
I love that, yeah. Antonio Diaz. Please email at info@.
I think Antonio already emailed, honestly. And
he did? Antonio already emailed? Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So. We'll if you haven't already, info@ourhonor.org.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I didn't really have a whole lot planned today. So we could either continue. I know you've got some more bird flu stuff you can talk about. We could also workshop my talk because I've been thinking about it. And this talk will mostly be to pre-vet and vet tech students. I'm also, Marianne Sullivan of our hen house. Found out I was coming to Cornell, and she teaches animal law at Cornell on Thursday when we'll be there. And
what a coinky-dink.
I know, what a coincidence. So might also be going to her class sometime around noon or something.
We're going to audit the class?
Well, I might be talking to her class. I don't know.
Oh, even better.
Yeah,
I can audit the class.
Mhm. So, like,
I feel so old when I'm on college campuses these days.
really, because like, I talk to the young kids, and I think I'm like you guys, and then
I'm like you.
realize
I'm just like one
I'm
of you.
not.
Hi,
I'm
kids. Hello, fellow teenagers. You're like
I'm 25 years older than you. I could be your mom.
I
Um,
I never thought so when I was I was a non-traditional student. I left the country at a pretty young age and I came back and went to college when I was 25. Not too much of a delay, but a long enough delay that I didn't really fit in with any of the freshmen. I was 25 and they were 18, and at that age that's a big gap, right?
Mhm.
You're in very different parts of your life. Like they can't go to a bar, you know what I mean? So and I I spent a lot of time at bars when I was in college, but I I knew older people there and I never thought of them as weirdos. So I was like, man, whenever maybe one day I'll come back and I'll do my do an advanced degree or something. And of course I never did, but I thought about it and I thought, yeah, I won't feel that way. But then when I did my college campus tour with PETA, there were a couple times I'm just going, God, these kids, they can't even put a sentence together. They can't even talk.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was like, oh, it's just too much. And maybe I don't know. Maybe I just need to talk with English and rhetoric majors. So I also just wanted to ask you because everyone knows about Hive, and this is something that I'm learning a little bit. I learned about Hive at the AVA summit last year when I went with Crystal. Crystal, can you tell me what is Hive all about and why people should join in, what we want to do with that? Like,
I mean, it's not my thing, and
hmm
it's a Slack with a lot of animal advocates, and they seem to gatekeep a lot, honestly. um,
yeah,
so
okay,
it's like all animal activist spaces. It's not perfect, but I encourage diverse voices to get involved. And I know there's been a lot of bullying and retaliation of women who voiced concerns about men in
mm,
positions of power, and
mm,
they've unfortunately a lot of women have left spaces with these people. But get involved and keep trying to get your voices heard. And they so you're not going to change anything by just self-selecting against entering some of these
right.
spaces. So join the Hive Slack, and if you have a problem with them censoring you or gatekeeping,
I had no
tell
idea
me
this was
about
going
it.
on. I
Yeah.
had no idea this was going on, but
Mhm.
that's good. Yeah, tell Crystal about it. She's the principal. Go
You
over there
know,
and tell her
I
about it.
well, I'm already the shit disturber, as I always am. And if you're afraid to, well, honestly, I'm afraid to say something sometimes too, because
All of us
my
are. I mean, you don't
funding
want to.
depends on
Yeah,
being in the good graces of a lot of people and yeah, so
it's also
it's,
you need people. You need to work with people, and sometimes it's hard if you don't want to say the wrong thing, and then no one wants to work with you, right? I mean, there's all sorts
yeah,
of other
that's
things.
the thing. This is the true of veterinary medicine. This is true of all
Academia,
fields.
yeah,
If
all.
you're branded as a difficult person, and it's
Yeah.
so easy to be branded as a difficult person when we should be celebrating those difficult people who are like willing to say the things
hmm
that nobody else is willing to say. um
Totally. I mean, Val Kilmer died today, and he was
oh
labeled a difficult person to work with because he had this artistic integrity that he didn't want to compromise on sometimes. And people said, "Oh, he got that label on him, and it's hard to kick once it's on you, And it was BS, but it's what
yeah,
happens."
I heard that with like Katherine Heigl and like other
Mhm.
people. Like, you get branded
Mhm.
as a difficult person, and then you're
Mhm.
out of it. But luckily, like these days, you could have a platform on the internet no matter what, and you can say what you want.
Yeah.
um
I say
I,
keep
I
going, especially with things like animal rights movement or any kind of justice movement. I think you just have to keep pushing. I
and
mean,
I think all the people who've been ostracized and character assassinated, all the
mhm,
animal activist women who've been ostracized and character assassinated by certain people in positions of power, we all need to join together and
yeah,
work with each other's. But it is scary because you don't know who to trust, because you've had your people who you thought were your friends betray you, and like
Mm.
share screenshots of your messages where you're voicing concerns about some man, and
This is why
all of
Signal, you
that
need to have it
stuff.
delete sometimes. So we're going to talk about.
Well, even I've learned that there's Confide, which is much better, because my Signal messages have been screenshot and shared, and my Signal voice memos, even though they were on like,
So now we know what you have in common with Pete Hegseth.
Yes, exactly. But there's Confide, which is another app, which you can't. The only way you could screenshot is if you like had another camera and like shot a picture of
Oh.
your phone with another camera, but it won't let you screenshot text messages.
Interesting. I never heard of Confide. I'm pretty happy with Signal right now, but Hive, I was trying to get this shared on Hive. I didn't really even know where to start. I'm looking at it's like just a complicated Slack channel. And I know that it's this thing that animal rights activists are supposed to be using, but I find it like a black hole. I feel like it's the 4chan of the of
Really?
it's just difficult to navigate. I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to do
Hmm.
with it. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid and I just need to look at it more.
Yeah, I can walk you through. I mean, I think, yeah, one thing.
Where did you share? Where would you share? In what channel of the Slack?
I share in, depending if it's like a news thing, I'd share it in the news channel. If it's a online event, you could share it in the online events
I guess an
channel.
online event. Yeah. Well, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about this thing called Hive, which is an animal rights activist collective on Slack. And it's an interesting idea where you'll be able to meet other I think it fills a niche that isn't important because it's hard to meet other vegans. It's hard to meet more animal rights activists. But I'd love for anybody to look at it and tell me what they think, because apparently people are finding it quite useful and they're very present at major events. So I don't know. I'm new to it. I'm trying. I'm not
One of the
poo-pooing it.
problems with all of these spaces is they get very cliquey, which you have like your little
Yeah, it feels
group
like
of
high school. Yeah.
popular people who all like and engage on each other's posts, and then like, ew, ignore, like, oh, that's Crystal. We're just gonna ignore her
It's like
post.
like Reddit kind of.
Mhm.
Reddit does this. Yeah, any of these like upvoting, you're voted off the island. You're the cool one. We like you, but I don't know. It's but anyway, I like
But
it.
we gotta be nicer to each other, more welcoming. Ask yourself, why are you so angry at that woman who
Grace. We need to have more grace with each other.
understanding, empathy? Are you empathizing more with the popular man, or are you empathizing more with the lowly activist
I wish
who's
people
just grinding workout every day? Like, who, have equal empathy for all people, not just the popular people. How about that?
That'd be cool until I'm popular, then empathize with me. I'd love to be. I saw this in the news today. I thought I'd bring it up. The fatal H5N1 case reported in India's Andhra Pradesh state. She's a 2-year-old girl. She died of H5N1. She had no pre-existing conditions, but her parents had fed her raw chicken.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, my parents didn't like me much either, so I get it.
A 2-year-old a 2-year-old feeding them raw chicken. The girl's family said she had eaten raw chicken, which investigators say her was her potential infection source. What do you think about that?
Say. Yep. I'm sorry your parents don't like you very much, child.
Well, now she's dead. I mean,
I hope
2-year-old.
you have better parents in heaven.
Oh my God, heaven. The second, well, maybe she, reincarnation. You believe in reincarnation. Maybe reincarnation will be good to her. But it's the first human H5N1 infection where someone died since 2021 in India, when an 11-year-old boy who had an underlying medical condition died. But in May 2024, Australia reported an H5N1 infection in an Australian child who had traveled to India. The child had a severe infection, but has recovered. So it is it's known to circulate in birds in India and Bangladesh. It was implicated in 2 earlier cases. So I don't know. I'm looking at the international community and seeing these. If I see this happening in India, because it is weird right now that it's happening in America. 70 known cases in America as of this last outbreak. Under 1,000 people globally have had known cases. It's still under 1,000 people who have had it. Still, H5N1 has a 50% mortality rate in humans. And I know Crystal hates it when I say it because it's kind of old info, but still today, H5N1 has infected under 1,000 people and half of them have died. So that's, to me, disconcerting.
Different strain. It's just kind of like, I was berated for the H7N9 virus that just infected.
But this is all H5N1.
Yeah, no. But I was saying like, oh, the last strain of H7N9 had a 40% mortality rate or whatever. They're like, oh, it's a different genotype. You got to be accurate, So yeah, I get it.
Yes, I guess right.
Obviously, no, but there's not 50% mortality rate with this current H5N1. But
they're
that's
probably not, because they're not reporting it because they found out they have antibodies and all these veterinarians and stuff. But out of the cases that we've known,
antibodies in 3 veterinarians. All of them, but 8% of dairy workers, which was interesting. Now we know that cows that they tested in 10 states and mostly Missouri, 33.9% of them had influenza A antibodies to the human seasonal flu and swine flus as well. So,
cows are what RFK Jr. might call a mutant factory. Okay, but all right. So just for known cases of H5N1, what we know so far is probably skewed because of all those factors that Crystal just outlined. But in the past, when it comes to epidemics, they usually break out in other countries before coming to the United States. This is unique in that we have had this major outbreak in our animals, and also 70 known cases in the United States before the rest of the world. Is it because we're testing? Maybe. But now we're seeing deaths in places like India. That is not a good sign because of their standard of living is different than what we experience here in America. If it is entering the human population along the Ganges, we'll see it's bad news. Babies are dying of it.
Hopefully people will learn and move away from this method of protein production.
I hope so too.
It's outdated method of protein production. Like, take a hint, humanity already.
Yeah,
anyway.
Take a hint, would you? Of course, they're arguing. I think it's interesting that the argument right now is about whether or not we should vaccinate at all. This is an article from the Great Lakes News. The average city's retail price for a dozen eggs is spiked to $5.89, which is still low in February. Egg production by state. You see all the dark blues have 102 million eggs are the dark blue ones. You can see it affects every single state if it really gets going. So even though that now the bird flu is going down, their fear is that it will go right back up because of spring and fall migrations, which are now, right? It's about to happen, right? The whales are migrating. Don't the birds are coming in?
I don't know if it's related or not.
Yeah, but they migrate for the same reasons, because the temperatures change around the globe. So the whales have just gone south, and the birds go next. It's going to happen mid-April, early May.
Let's see what we can come up with here.
Having spent 46 years on this planet, I look up from time to time and I see birds flying south this time of No,
Okay,
flying
bird
north. They fly north.
migration northbound
Northbound, yeah.
begins late February to March, peaks in April to mid-May, and tapers off in
Yeah.
early June. Birds migrate north to breed in the US and Canada. Fall migration southbound begins in August, peaks in September to October, and tapers off in November or December. Birds migrate south to overwinter in warmer regions like Central and South America. By flyway, the Pacific Flyway, which runs along the western US and Canada, migrants include waterfowl, shorebirds, and songbirds. Peak activity is often a bit earlier in the spring and extends longer in the fall. The Central Flyway along the Great Plains sees a huge number of cranes, geese, and ducks, especially in areas like the Platte River in Nebraska.
Yeah, they're famous for it. Jane Goodall goes every year to look at the big birds, the cranes.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah, when I was traveling in Nebraska with PETA, I said, "Well, what's good to go? Or what's going on around here in Grand Island?" They said, "Oh, great! Jane Goodall comes every year to look at these cranes." Local celebrity.
Oh, there you go. Mississippi Flyway is a major corridor for waterfowl and songbirds. Peak spring migration in April and May, and fall in September to October. Atlantic Flyway, Eastern Seaboard includes species that rely on stopover habitats along the coast. High volume during both spring and fall, with hotspots in the Carolinas and the Northeast. So yeah.
Great. All right. Well, there you go. So they're going north coming up. They're thinking that the bird flu is coming back. Since we've done nothing to keep that from happening. How long before they just start killing wild birds?
I mean, they already are, from what I understand.
Great. That's not good. I thought that they're just killing the birds. So since only 30% of birds on Earth are wild.
Yeah.
So it would be easy to kill the rest of them. Why don't we just kill all the wild birds on planet Earth, and we won't have this bird flu problem anymore?
I heard they were killing the European starlings.
Really? All right. The last video I kind of want to show you while you're looking that up is this little thing about egg prices.
Now, with Easter just a few weeks away,
came out today.
On the hunt for lower egg prices. The demand for eggs typically go up this time of the year. So could shoppers be paying more for this year for the eggs? NU is back now. She's going to take a look at the current egg prices. Good morning.
It is the ongoing saga of the eggs whiz. Good morning. What's Easter without Easter eggs,
What's
right?
Easter without Easter eggs, right? What do you think, Crystal? Can we have Easter without Easter eggs?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. I thought you'd I think that Easter happened before Easter. I think Easter is when Jesus rose from the grave, performing his final miracle. I don't think that we needed eggs, actually.
And the good news is that the high price.
You thought what?
I thought Easter eggs were a pagan way to celebrate.
Yes.
And we were a Christian country. I don't know.
Well, there's a story. Well, the Christians were very into just adopting pagan rituals in order to shoehorn their holidays. And, But there's a story that what I was told in Catholic school about the woman who was carrying eggs home, and the eggs were very pricey and expensive. And so she was carrying her eggs home, and she came across a man being whipped in the street, bearing a cross up the Via Dolores. And so she stopped and she put down her basket of eggs, even though they were quite valuable, and she went to go help this man who she knew nothing about. And she helped him carry the cross for a moment. And it was Jesus Christ, of course. And then she goes back to find the eggs, not only there, but bedazzled to and colored, and this is why we paint Easter eggs, according to a Catholic fairy tale that they told me when I went to Catholic school.
Probably happened. Yeah,
it probably happened. Somebody helped them out and did. It's a miracle, and this is And that's why we need to buy eggs on Easter, Crystal.
Makes sense.
Yes. How dare you say otherwise?
Prices of eggs may be beginning to crack. Last week, the wholesale price for white large
Excellent.
eggs fell about 26 cents to $3 per dozen. That's pretty good, but prices at the grocery store are still nearly double that. The U.S. Department of Agriculture also found the overall.
This is so bullshit. They like it went down. This is propaganda. It went down to $3, but it's still twice that at the supermarket. Yeah, because of the way markup works. It's so stupid. Like the price went down. It's like when they tell you that a price of oil costs $200 a barrel. What does that mean to me? I buy gasoline by the gallon. I don't buy crude oil by the barrel. You know, this is how they talk in order to get us to, because who the hell knows what that means? $3 per dozen to the store.
Yeah, and why aren't they talking about how they kill the birds? That's the one thing the Business Insider piece missed is like, hey, how are they
didn't
killing
talk about
the birds?
yeah.
They didn't talk about ventilation shutdown. Why are we talking? Yeah, let's add.
I agree. You're right. Yes, the context should also be, how did they kill all these birds? Then no one ever says it. They just say cold. How'd they do it? Well, I assume. Don't assume anything. How do you think they did it?
Veterinarian approved methods.
Yeah. Yes, using the American Veterinary Medicine AVMA, American Veterinary Medical Association guidelines.
For the month of March consistently came down each week thanks to a variety of factors like fewer avian flu cases. The overall demand for eggs has dropped, and the Trump administration has pledged $1 billion.
So there you go. There's your cage free right there. They're
help
packed in
combat
there.
the avian flu crisis. Now, here's the bad news. With Easter and Passover coming up in just 19 days, the demand for eggs, of course, expected to rise.
Look at that. You can go to a restaurant and buy them already pre-dyed, Crystal. Because of that wonderful story about the woman who helped Jesus up the hill.
Experts are also worried that the spring bird migration could also make avian flu cases go up. So the saga continues. Of course, we're going to stay on top of this and monitor the prices as we inch closer to Easter. Again,
Monitor them.
19 days away. Now, Wiz, can I offer you some alternatives?
Okay, this is why I wanted to show this. Can I offer you some alternatives, Crystal, for Easter?
Sure. Okay. Let's do it.
I'm gonna ask, have you been out there shopping?
Okay, I'm gonna put my mommy hat on.
Okay.
Okay, so potatoes, hear me out. They're smooth surface, it's an egg shape, and they're easy to dye. You also got marshmallows. You can dye marshmallows. You've got those plastic eggs. You know, they're
marshmallows. Aren't marshmallows made out of cow bones
and not like oranges? You could paint an orange.
Kids love oranges.
An avocado.
Avocados are expensive.
Oh, wow.
Then you run to the same problem with the eggs. You got to do something cheap, but oranges are cheap.
Pineapple. You could paint a pineapple.
Paint pineapples. I like this. I like where you're going with this.
Chop off the outside skin anyway.
How about eggplant emojis? We could paint eggplants.
Kiwis. Eat
or
the skin off
aubergines. I like that. Kiwi. Dye the kiwi. They're fun. They're edible. I like this idea.
Bananas. You could paint bananas.
Bananas. I like banana. We could do all sorts of stuff. I mean, who's to say we can't just? I mean, pumpkins. What is the in-season vegetable though, or fruit? Like the reason why we cut and paint pumpkins during Halloween is because those are abundant during that season. What is abundant this? Not tomatoes are summer, right? What comes out this year? I think it is actually eggplant. Eggplant's in season right now. I don't know what would be, but oranges and limes, we don't lime or lemons, those would be great. Grapes and tiny and I like our tiny and egg-shaped grapes.
Pineapple guava is in season now. Rhubarb is in season now. And all your citrus fruits, of course, but citrus fruits, they're year-round, really.
Yeah, because we import them from everywhere and they're cheap.
Yeah.
I like your first idea. Oranges are fun because they're delicious. They smell great. Your whole house would smell like orange. You just get a family-friendly dye and paint them. It sounds great. I love the idea of oranges. All right, eggplant. Yeah. Use the eggplant. Everyone loves eggplants. The small aubergines are great. Cucumbers, those are more of a summer thing as well.
But the you couldn't paint a cucumber because like you eat the skin. You don't, I don't know, unless you skin the cucumber.
You skin
You
it.
don't wanna,
Yeah. You don't skin your cukes?
no, I don't.
When I worked in restaurants, we we would do like a circus. We wouldn't take the whole skin, but we would skin stripes on it.
Mm.
So you get you get the kind of the best of both worlds. Because there's too much bitterness in the skins. We like anyway.
They're like
Here.
20 cents at the store.
Right.
And
Okay,
you can put stickers and put little gems on them. You can improvise.
Okay.
Plastic, improvise. I like this lady's stick-to-itiveness. Improvise, people.
Grit. She's overcoming barriers. This
Yes,
is
I'm not
amazing.
so keen on the marshmallow thing, but at least she's thinking outside the
Vegan
box.
marshmallows. Like that's
Vegan
good
marshmallows. I guess vegan marshmallows. Kathy Skywalker says vegan marshmallows are delicious. I've only had them a couple times. I don't know. No, I don't miss marshmallows that much. I guess like maybe if I were camping or something. But I like maybe we should.
I would advise against painting your grapes before eating them. I'm just gonna say it. Like, I don't think that's.
You don't think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I just strawberry. Oh, just all the fruits. Yeah, I like it, Kathy. Perfect. Wonderful. Well, yeah, I like that they're trying to think of at least alternatives now. This is the first time because their mantra at the end of each one of those reports. What did they used to say? Don't worry, everybody. Dead chickens, though you should never go anywhere near a dead animal. Eating dead chickens is okay, and pasteurized milk is okay, and pasteurized eggs is okay. That's what they used to say at the end of each of these.
To maintain consumer confidence.
But now it seems to be waning.
Well, we got that a bit in the Business Insider video. We got that, like, don't worry, pasteurized milk is safe and all of that stuff.
But they did also offer alternatives, though. Flaxseed and bananas are kind of, but that's okay. Bananas are good. They got the pectin. It's good to bake with. It's good to bake with bananas instead of eggs. It works. Yeah, I like this idea. Oh, use their natural colors. Red, green, and black. That's not really the point of Easter, though. I think that we need to the act of dying.
Is we need to make it different. We need to color it like Jesus did with the woman with the eggs. Or we need to develop, like, how good are the egg marketers to like be able to like ingratiate themselves into Christian lore? Like, we need to have that sort of whatever that is ingenuity. Like, how do we ingratiate vegan alternatives into religious mythology?
You think that the potato lobby has to be at least somewhere near as strong as the egg lobby. Why aren't they going to the White House and doing a potato roll? I don't think,
because the egg people, they got Big Pharma on their side because Big Pharma is an interest in making sure there's lots of slaughter-bound chickens so they can sell their products too. The potato people probably sell their waste potatoes to the agriculture industry, so they have an interest in making sure that that's a market too. Pet food, so I think, the animal protein people are always going to be the most powerful, more rich than the commodities. So
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. Okay, so we're screwed in that department, but I don't know. I think that this might be our last White House egg roll. They're going to charge between $75,000 and $200,000 for corporate ad placement at the White House egg roll.
Wow.
And they're getting some bad press about it. I mean, it's gonna look like NASCAR. Every little kid out there with the basket is gonna look like a little NASCAR.
The egg roll is already like corporate propaganda, just like the turkey pardoning thing. It's which is the National Turkey Federation, and every year they pick a new head. Whoever's the president of the National Turkey Federation, their company gets to like give the turkeys, so they get this giant free advertisement from the president saying, "Oh, butterball turkey! Oh my God, it's amazing!" And that's what the egg industry does too. That's what's supporting the egg roll situation. It's just a big PR campaign
The
for the egg
presidential pardon
industry.
one's a weird one, right? That's so weird that we do that. The presidential pardon of the turkeys. Like, how do people not wake up and go, this is weird. We are murdering turkeys, and the president is pardoning one.
Because we all just love a spectacle. It's an event, and we can all just make it all fine. Just like 4-H is such a great thing. It's like we're literally just
We just love a
teaching
party.
kids how to,
Yeah.
raise animals to slaughter them and do this super weird showmanship of the pigs. Got a full New York Times article
Yeah.
because this kid got famous for having this super weird look on her face when she was showing her pigs on TikTok. Look at that. Look at this great story about showing pigs.
Yeah.
Let's not think past that.
At least with the egg roll, I feel like one thing with this pandemic, I think at least people are starting to think of eggs as coming from chickens. I know there's a lot to be desired here. Like they're not telling you, they're telling you at least that chickens are being killed and that's why there are no eggs. But they're not telling you how they're killed. They're not telling you a lot in order to just maintain consumer confidence, all the stuff we just talked about. But it looks like I really feel like with the Easter egg roll and the Easter egg hunt and all the stuff that people do I don't think it even enters their mind that a chicken's egg came out of a cloaca, out of the backside of a chicken, and that it was bleached and washed and all the process that it took to get to you. I don't think people have considered that ever. I don't think we'll ever think about that. And now I think finally people are starting to think about it. So
maybe. I saw Hannah Muller's in the backstage. If you want to be added to the stage, we'd love to talk to you. Just turn on your camera, and that will be your sign that
you're ready.
We can talk to you.
So are you gonna do this to the honors and give us a little preview of your talk?
Yeah, I mean, we could workshop it. I was just kind of thinking, what do I want to talk about in relation to this talk here? Like, these are students who, it's a bit different than talking at VMX, who these are people who are very skeptical of any animal rights activists. My usual veterinarian talks, you have to be very careful with them. But I've spoken to pre-vet students before and RVTs, and they're a bit more open-minded. They haven't been fully indoctrinated yet. And I'd like to be able to warn them, inoculate them against what's coming, and get them to be suspicious and question the things that their professors are telling them. So how do I go about doing that? What I do is I basically I've a master set of slides, and most of my recent stuff has been a lot of heavily bird flu stuff. Let me stop my sharing of that. Present, share screen. So I'm still figuring out how I'm gonna do this. And of course, I introduce myself. This is me, and I talk about how
it's you with you do the same. Go back. Go back. No, I want to see you with the animal. Oh, with the dog.
Yeah.
There's something about animal rights activists always posing with dogs and cats that I find hilarious. But okay, let's keep going. Sorry. I find it very
I could pose. I have pictures of me with pigs and chickens.
No, because you're a vet and you work on these animals, so it's a little bit different. Is this your pet dog?
This is me in Fiji with a dog who is at the Fiji shelter.
Totally different. And no, I don't think. But every time you see an animal rights organization founder, their picture is always with some kind of pet dog, clearly a pet dog, not someone that they're working with or something. You know what I mean? No, I love it. It's great. But it just seems to be a trope that it's always that. It's always that.
Yeah.
It's like a tick.
Interesting. And I just want to point out, Antonio Diaz says LAU Brooklyn campus did away with animal experiments in their Bachelor of Health Science, not in their master's, though. I actually reached out to LAU to ask them some questions about their sourcing of their animals, and they did not get back to me. Meanwhile, also, Viticus Group, who we reached out to about their sourcing of their animals, they have not gotten back to us either. And yeah, Hannah, I see you in the chat. Like, I can add you.
Oh, she's got her camera on.
Oh, good.
It keeps cutting out though, so I don't know how good of a connection I have.
Oh, that's okay.
Hey, Hannah, I'm so thankful that you joined us, Dr. Hannah Muller. And you went to Oregon State, right?
Yeah, I was one of the last classes that went through Oregon State, but half of it was through Washington State. So I had 2 years at each place.
Oh, cool. And what's your practice now? What do you do veterinary wise?
Yeah, I have all private practice, primarily equine, but I'm also trained in acupuncture and chiropractic. So I work on cats and dogs and other species for that.
Cool.
For horses, I do the Western medicine and dentistry and all of that stuff in addition to the acupuncture and chiropractic.
Amazing.
So you do actually do look gift horses in the mouth.
Mhm.
Oh no, she froze.
I
Dang
do.
it. Oh, you do. All right, good. All right. I didn't know if the joke landed. Sorry. It was one of those. I went out on a limb there, and then you froze on me. Sorry.
I'd love to hear about your
Sorry.
experience in school, because I found it really interesting. Can you tell me what happened and what you went through?
Yeah. It was quite a experience. I'll say the hardest part of getting through vet school was dealing with the animal use issues and trying to have a humane education. That was way harder than just getting through school, and it was hard enough to just get through school. I was.
Oh no, she froze. Maybe she'll come back.
Thrown in really unaware of the animal use issues at Oregon State.
That ugh.
I
could hear the ugh. Yeah, it
Let me
used
try
to be
to.
on cellular.
I think. I think my internet is not working great here.
Are you in the woods? Are you far away from civilization?
I'm trying to go closer to the office so the Wi-Fi will.
Yeah, that should
good. You
help.
do have
kick in,
Wi-Fi.
and
That's
then maybe it'll
awesome.
be better. Is it any better now?
Yeah, that's better.
Seems to be. Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, looks good.
Wi-Fi is not great today because it's back on cellular.
Oh, little pony nickering in the background. Winnie. Oh. She's off.
Yeah, I don't know. It keeps
There you
clicking
go.
off and on Wi-Fi, so I don't think my Wi-Fi is very good down here.
This
now
is
you're
good
coming in
right
clear.
now.
Oh.
Oh, it was for a second.
I was like clear, and then it was gonna. Okay, now you're clear.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Maybe, kind of.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry. Yeah.
So Oregon.
So I was kind of Oregon State. I was thrown into it without really realizing the animal use issues, where a lot of my classmates knew the issues because they had done their undergraduate studies there. I hadn't. I was in Virginia for college, so I was kind of thrown into it. And given my anatomy dog that was already dead and embalmed on the table. And I started asking questions and was like, where did this dog come from? And learned pretty quickly that it was killed specifically for me, for learning anatomy. And I was horrified by that. And the more questions I asked, the more I realized I was going to have some issues with my education. And there were 2 other students that were like-minded, and then several others that were just kind of afraid to ask or make waves. But that's the surgery classes to come, and petition the school for an alternative tract that was humane. And we did. I was able to, for example, in junior year of school, we had ponies that they bought from auction, little stallion ponies, and we were supposed to castrate them and do a series of procedures and then kill them at the end. And we saved 6 of the 12 ponies. That was the first year that many had ever been saved. And I was able to get more surgical experience than any of my classmates by going to local shelters and wildlife centers and I got plenty of hands-on live animal surgery on animals that needed it, not animals that didn't. And so it was pretty cool to show my classmates that actually, I got to do an amputation today, on a bobcat. That was pretty cool. And they didn't get to do any of that in school with their traditional program. And then at WSU, we ran into issues with the anesthesia labs. They were anesthetizing dogs multiple times and then putting them into pharmaceutical research. And they'd go into what was called the dungeon, where they never see the light of day, and then euthanized, after the research trials were over. So we petitioned to have animals from the shelter come in. We anesthetized them, had senior students do their spay or neuter, recovered them, and sent them back to the shelter more adoptable, and petitioned to change that program. So there were definitely a lot of changes while I was in school, but there was also a lot of stress and trauma around it, like being brought into the dean's office multiple times saying, take it or fail. We can help you transfer. Why are you creating a problem? And it was like, I'm not trying to create a problem. I'm just wondering why we're still in the dark ages with our education. Aren't we supposed to have our compassion intact when we graduate, and that was it was very eye-opening to me that this was the vet school. We're supposed to be all animal lovers here, right? And it just wasn't the culture of the program. So that was my experience in a nutshell.
It's such an amazing story, and so important for students to hear that. And it's still to this day in a variety of schools that is still happening. And you graduated what year?
2004.
2004.
So 21 years ago.
Yeah. And 20 years later, students are still fighting the same battles. It's amazing how slow veterinary education is in advancing. Like, this is something that should have been gone a long time ago, and no medical schools have students practice on animals anymore. But veterinary schools, we still are killing animals for student education. What advice do you have for any students who are currently fighting these battles right now?
My advice would be the biggest window of your life to make change is when you're a student at that school. That is when they are obligated to you, obligated to listen to you, and that is when you have the most power. And don't be afraid of them. They can't make you fail, or they'll have a lawsuit against them. Like, they have to treat you equally regardless of your beliefs. And the most profound time to make change is when you're a student. And so ask the questions early, make an alternative program early so that you don't get forced into these classes. And you don't have to take it or fail. There's workarounds. They have to work with you.
I think that's so important too. Like, so many students, they go and they become a consumer when they go into these universities, but you can actually leave a mark on your alma mater. You can actually affect change that can inspire and change the lives of not just the animals, but to all the other students that come after you. It really is. I talk to students on campuses all the time, and they say they don't have a voice, and it's like, are you kidding me? You have all the voice. Like, this is why campus protests are so important. This is why campus activism is important. This is why every form, and I'm not just talking about protests, but like every form, coming up with alternative class plans and all these types of things. This is when to do it. You're absolutely right.
But I think the social costs are more scary than the administrative burden. It's like what will your friends think? Will you be ostracized? Will you lose the opportunity to have a internship with that faculty member, or like have the opportunity to like work on that guy's study and get your name in some paper? And how many opportunities will you miss out on because you are now branded as a difficult student? And we can't ignore that, but know that you have lots of friends like us and many other students around the country who are so supportive of you. And when you speak out, you find out who your real friends are, and you find these networks and you find jobs that align with your values. And I think so many veterinarians worry too much about fitting in instead of belonging. And fitting in is changing yourself to like match the environment around you. And belonging is being honest about who you are, speaking your truth, and then finding the people who belong with you. And that will bring you so much more happiness in your career, in your
Totally.
life.
I couldn't agree more. Finding your tribe is how standing up and saying something is how you find your tribe. When I was at the screening of the movie of Kindness Town on Saturday, people were asking, "Well, how'd you find all these people?" And I'm like, I started a YouTube channel about veganism, and all these people came up also looking for someone to work with and having projects. You raise your hand and you say, "I don't like the way this is going," and people, your courage is contagious. That's how you get people to stand up. Someone's got to be the first one, and that fear will subside, and you'll become a better leader. You'll make a difference. You'll leave your fingerprints on an institution that's hard to change. I see only positives. It might seem scary, but after you take that plunge, there's nothing but positivity.
Yeah, and once you like get used to being the only one who's willing to say the thing and willing to accept the consequences for saying, it gets easier and your life gets better. Like you get so many more opportunities that fit who you are. And so I just encourage more people to do that. And have you found that in your life, Dr. Moeller? Like how is your career going now? How is the vet world
I
treating
feel
you?
like honestly, the experience that I went through in vet school made me a better vet. I think keeping my empathy and compassion intact upon graduation, honestly, that's why I'm good at what I do. I love my patients in a different way than vets that have been desensitized through the program, and it's just, another animal that maybe we're going to use it to learn surgery and kill it at the end, or maybe it's a patient. Like once you cross that line, and lose that level of empathy and compassion, then I feel like you lose your edge a little bit. So I mean, my clients love me because I go the extra mile. I really do care about their individual horse. I feel like I have the best job in the world. I have all of these horses that feel like mine, that somebody else pays me to come see, because I love all my patients and they mean the world to me. And I feel like I'm surrounded by a like-minded community. One of the nice things about a holistic practice is I have the clients that not only want the basics, but they also want above and beyond care for their animals. If they're going to be willing to do acupuncture and chiropractic too. And so I just have a really great network of clients, and you bring in a lot of veterinary medicine is based on personality. So what you're giving and what you're talking about, and the little side conversations and planting the seed here and there, that drives who ends up coming into your practice. And it's so great. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm surrounded by really great people because of it. So
Yeah.
for me, it's been win-win. Everything that I've put out to the universe has come back tenfold. It really has. And I have a lot of gratitude for that.
Yeah, that's so
I love it.
inspiring. And it's so important to get more of these stories out there so that students know like there is hope. And I know it feels hard now, but like really just be honest with who you are and what you believe, and you'll find your path. And it's so much to be honest about things. You get feedback from the universe, and sometimes you're wrong about stuff and you say things that are wrong, but if you just keep saying things, you'll course correct and you'll get on the right path. And so don't be afraid of making mistakes. Or I think this perfectionism that's rampant in veterinary medicine and in students is really harmful. And our systems incentivize this perfection or perpetuate this perfectionism. Like you can't make a mistake and you have to always appear to be a certain way. And that prevents us from making mistakes that are important in the learning process.
Yeah, it's
And
funny because any business person will tell you, like, if you're gonna fail fast. Like, you should fail, and you need to fail quickly so that you learn your lesson quickly, so that you can get better for the next, get back up. And has no one seen Rocky? I mean, isn't that the whole point of Rocky? You
I
get
haven't seen
punched,
Rocky
you
the
get up.
movie. Yeah.
You never seen it? The whole point is not how hard you hit, how hard you hit. It's how hard you get hit, and you keep moving forward. You need to get up, and you keep moving forward. That's the whole point of Rocky. Yeah,
It's a good message.
it
Aaron
is.
says, I even got an email about WSU about how difficult you are. Like an email going out
That was from me,
about
actually.
about how difficult Sky is.
No, I wrote that email.
Oh, you wrote that email.
No, yeah, I wrote that email about you. 'Cause I need everyone to know how difficult you are.
Mhm. Well, Hannah's frozen again. If she comes back, great. But I think that's such an important story.
Yeah, inspiring stories, Hannah. Thank you so much. I think hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. I'm gonna
Yeah.
bounce her. Bye, Hannah.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, she's still frozen. Cool. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
So we'll get back to my presentation. So how do we talk to pre-vet students who haven't fully been groomed by the system, and teach them what they need to be taught to start questioning things?
Well, how do we get these great stories like Hannah Muller's out there? Hannah Muller's story, this inspire these young would-be veterinarians.
Yeah, to know that, I mean, we enter these institutions and we think you're so grateful to be there, and you kind of feel like I just made it in. Like it's hard to get into vet school, and you invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into tuition, so you want to be like, yeah, I went to this awesome vet school. And if your vet school maybe isn't number one, like UC Davis is number one, I'm totally comfortable talking shit about UC Davis because it's I'm not like going to some Caribbean school. So I'm
Which
like,
I've heard are lovely. You could get a great
fine.
education.
Oh, I like totally do not mean to talk shit about
No,
Caribbean schools. They're
I always think
fine and
it's
great.
more. Yes, top tier. I also went to a top tier university in my field, and I got a lot out of it. But I knew plenty of students that got very little out of it because you have to. You could go to an idiot can still go to a top tier university and get nothing out of it.
Yeah. But like
And
I
a really
imagine,
smart person can do really well at a Caribbean school.
yeah. I imagine like somebody going to like Florida and like people not being familiar with like Florida veterinary school. And people are, "Oh, Florida, like, how was that vet school?" You don't want to say like, actually, there were issues, but UC Davis, I'm totally fine with saying like there are issues. They still kill their animals. Like
You're
there's a
talking
lot of
about punching up, I
indoctrination.
think.
Yeah,
Punch
like
up, not down.
it's fine to punch up.
Yeah.
So I think, we have too many students have pride in their schools, and there's all the sport. They try to
Yeah.
indoctrinate you into their school cult with all of their merch and their gear and their school pride and
I'm
all
in.
of
I'm
that
in
stuff.
one. Yep. I'm in one.
Like, don't fall for it. Like, be able to talk shit about your school and say, like, it's a problem. And your professors, they aren't that smart. Like, I remember so many mistakes that the professors made on the tests. And I'm like, am I an idiot?
Mhm.
This question is not a good question.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I can argue this, and like I'd go up to the pressure. And
Who
sometimes
wrote
they'd be
this?
like,
Who wrote this test? Yeah.
sometimes it'd be like, no, you're an idiot. And I'd be like, okay, I'm an idiot. But sometimes it'd be right. And it'd be like, oh, we totally messed up with this question. Like,
Mhm.
so, just keep asking, and don't be afraid to be an idiot, because it's so much easier to be an idiot when you're a student than when you be an idiot when you're a veterinarian. But I am like so comfortable now as
Yes.
a veterinarian being like, I don't know. I'm going to ask
Oh.
somebody who knows more than me
Mhm.
to answer this question. That is the sign of, I think this, when you're like, can admit you're wrong and admit that you don't know, that's a sign of somebody trustworthy to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think humility is a wonderful attribute. I think that having enough humility to learn is something that you should carry with you your whole life. I think a lot of people stop learning.
Yeah.
A lot. We talked about this before. I think that there's a plateau that happens in most people's lives, and they just stop.
Yeah. So don't
I
plateau.
Don't plateau. Keep going. Stay humble. Keep asking questions. Stay critical.
I'm just gonna like go through this. So I bring up my horse riding 4-H experience, and
Mhm.
I want to talk about a little bit about 4-H and how 4-H indoctrinates you into a system,
Yeah.
and how similar that is to veterinary school. And then I don't know how many use this slide, but I felt like it needed to be there.
Mhm.
And probably not everybody has seen Severance.
Yes, Severance, with this one man in a suit milking feeding the
And
babies.
he's literally like, go away. They're not ready yet. Like, he
Mhm.
clearly cares for these goats. And do you think he was severed? Like, his only existence is raising these goats to be killed in service of cure.
Has to be.
So he knows nothing else,
He's on the severed floor.
but he's still very emotionally attached to these goats, even though he
Mhm.
knows they're going to be sacrificed. Is that something maybe that the severing process would want to eliminate from these people?
Right. Yeah, you don't want to have people having the severing process,
Are they
as we
trying to
know.
add to their chip that, can we make these people not love these animals? Can we make
Yes.
them into just robots doing the task with no emotion?
Is that what was happening to Gemma?
Maybe is the dismantling the crib doing the task with no emotion about
Wasn't that?
it?
I think that must be it. Maybe that's the whole thing. They're trying to get it so that she has zero understanding of what's happening. Although, like we said before, she didn't recognize her husband, but she didn't have to
Yeah,
perform a task. Maybe that's it.
but is it like yeah, I didn't get that scene. I felt like we were all supposed to think like, oh, she's supposed to have some deep some sort
Mhm.
of anxiety about dismantling this crib. I don't think so, and it's not that particularly of a grueling task that she would
Mhm.
abandon. So I thought it wasn't the best final task for her to do if I was writing the show, but maybe season 3 will clear that up for us.
The final season.
Yeah. So I bring up Cedar the goat, and how this is the story of a 4-H kid who did grow attached to her goat and
Mhm.
didn't want to sell her beloved goat Cedar, to slaughter.
Oh, Cedar, I remember. She absconded with Cedar.
The Cedar the goat went to a sanctuary, and then But this was viewed
But
as,
first she ran away. She left with Cedar.
yeah, I don't know if she left with Cedar, but yeah, Cedar did not go to slaughter initially and went to a sanctuary.
Yes.
And the police went on this 500-mile chase to seize Cedar. Like, we cannot accept in 4-H the progress, the moral progress of a kid who grew attached. They have to, rules matter more important than
But
feelings
of
and their
course.
dedication and love for this animal. And so much to the point that the police seized the goat, killed the goat without any due process. And
Mhm.
ultimately she was vindicated for this, and she got a settlement and lots of money.
Yeah, they said that she had to learn her lesson. I guess she learned her
But
lesson.
she learned her lesson that ultimately she was on the right side of things, and she got money. She got like
Mhm.
hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think.
Yes.
And then I brought up this slide, which I don't know how many use, but I just feel like it's necessary. It's the same thing. Like, ultimately,
Mhm.
she was going to let Drummond, and I don't want to spoil Severance for people. If the class is like, I don't know what Severance is, I'm just gonna be like, watch Severance, remember this scene. I'm planting seeds for, the future.
I don't think spoiling it is okay. I think it's fine to spoil it. I mean, they're clearly raising goats for sacrifice, and here she is
She's
sending a goat. Yeah.
she's dead stone face sending her goat to sacrifice, just like the 4-Hers do.
Mhm.
But ultimately she's so thankful that and then we talk
Yeah.
about this. I talk about just how this girl
Oh, this
went viral for the way
yes.
that she was showing her pigs. And
Yes. Oh my god, I remember this one. It was
it was in the New York Times too.
I didn't know it was in the New York Times.
Mhm.
She was hitting the pig with the rod in order to steer the pig, but with their eyes. We saw the other one where the kid had the arched back of the goat and his eyes are sitting there staring at the judge. It's
Uh-huh.
creepy, man. It's just
This is showmanship. So, yeah, you want to keep your eye on the judge, but it also shows how in our small little groups,
Mhm.
one practice that seems to make sense at first can become so exaggerated
Yeah.
as part of the system that you don't even realize how weird it is to the rest of the public. And that's a lot
Mhm.
similar to the way we raise animals in protein production and veterinary medicine. We have
Mhm.
these ideas. We think of veterinary medicine as a very science-based profession, but we do a lot of things based on tradition
Yeah.
and the certain ideas that I'll go into. We have certain beliefs that need to be questioned that aren't being questioned because our small group of very homogenous people, it's a majority white profession. We don't have anybody sort of questioning our belief systems. And what does that lead to? It leads to us not progressing as a as a profession. Like we saw with Dr. Hannah Muller and others, we're still killing animals in veterinary education, and students are still fighting the same battles
Yeah.
20
I mean,
years
it
later.
reminded me of any kind of isolated culture gets real creepy real fast.
Mhm.
I mean, we've found island culture, isolated tribes, they do things that it just
Effective altruists.
yeah.
Yeah, it gets real weird.
It gets real weird real fast when you've isolated yourself, especially if
Mhm.
it's in a homogenous. That's why diversity is important. Different perspectives is important. That's why transparency is important. I mean, like there's the Easter Island tribe. They used to every year run a bunch of men off the cliffs, and they all just died. That was just something they did every year. I mean,
I
that's just.
mean, if you don't have, like, wars to fight, then what's the purpose of
I
having
guess that's what
men?
I mean. You got to do creepy stuff, I
Yeah.
suppose. If you don't
Um
have wars to fight, what's the purpose?
How are you gonna cull the herd? I mean, you
Yeah.
only need, like, 1 man for every 4 or 5 women, so
I
Anyway.
think that men have an inherent
Okay,
value like every
I
other
know.
animal with life in him.
Yep.
Yeah,
I hope you all realize my misogyny is for humorous purposes only.
your misanthropy. Isn't that
Yeah, not misogyny. Like fuck, I'm
misandry?
misandry. Yeah,
Misandry.
misandry.
Misandry. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I talk about, of course, Stephen Mithen's work where we evolved the ability to empathize with other animals 100,000 years ago.
We
But
start from the
4-H,
beginning. Where's your picture of the cavemen? You took the
I
picture
know
of
I
the
should have. This is from I took that slide from an older slide, which I didn't have the picture of the caveman. Do you feel like the picture of the caveman is better than the scientific study?
I thought the picture of the caveman was funny when you
Okay.
said, well, where did it start? And you show like caveman, like, oh my God, this is gonna be a long presentation. You're starting out with the caveman.
Yeah. So then I talk about this study, Reproducing Dominion. And they basically said that the ability to avoid attachment was especially important as a milestone signifying that these apprentices, these little 4-Hers, were no longer little kids. They observed that little kids get more attached and teary-eyed, but over the years, the 4-Hers learned to manage their emotions through
Beaten out of
cognitive
them.
techniques, not to stifle or control them, but to change their images and ideas or thoughts in service of changing the feelings associated with them. One technique in accomplishing this was not naming their animals. For example, a 16-year-old boy
Good
raising
idea.
pigs said, "Don't get close to them, don't name them. You're more attached to them when you name them." So he simply clapped his hands to get their attention and referred to this one or that one. Another said that there had simply been too many animals over the years in 4-H to come up with names, so I don't bother with names, he said of his steers. Yeah.
Don't
So
name them. I love that that's the damn solution. Just don't name them and everything will be fine.
yeah, it's one strategy.
Well, yeah, the often derided Stanford study was, obviously cooked. It was a cooked study, but one of the things that they did was no one was calling each other by names. They called them by numbers, and that's what we do to prisoners. We call them numbers instead of names so that people don't look at them as humans.
Exactly. And I bring up this quote, "Teaching a child not to step on a caterpillar is as valuable to the child as it is to the caterpillar." But we aren't doing that in veterinary medicine, are
I
we?
like
We're
that.
kind of teaching.
We're teaching that they're here for us to use, right?
Well, not necessarily. I don't think we're explicitly teaching that. We're just teaching that, like, we have to be realistic here. We have to, if you want to be a veterinarian, you have to be tough and make some tough choices. Yeah, nobody likes doing this, but this is the way things are. And that's the narrative that people, and there's some truth in all of that. Like, I'm a shelter vet. We have to make tough choices sometimes given the situation that we're in. But I think we can, in our day-to-day work, make those tough choices. But when we're setting policy that has that philosophy, something's wrong. Like when we're saying ventilation shutdown should be bailed out by taxpayers, no, we need to address this as a systemic failure, and we're failing our veterinarians and our students and all of that. So that's sort of.
You might want to just who's Bradley. I had to Google who Bradley Miller is, the founder of the Humane Farming Association campaign against factory farming. I had never.
I'll address who he is. I forgot who his deal was.
Bradley
But that's
Miller.
a quote Melanie Joy uses a lot.
Oh, she does.
That's a good one. And this is my favorite paper, The Long Shadow. And this is one pre-vet student or pre-medical student actually talking about how she is going to make sure that she doesn't become susceptible, morally vulnerable during her medical education. And she looks into all of the factors that lead normal people to commit atrocities.
Yeah, this was it was a hard one to read. The percentage
Mhm.
was like 7% of 7% of physicians became
The
Nazi doctors?
SS.
Yeah,
7% of all physicians were members of the SS,
that's crazy.
while compared with less than 1% of the general population. So they're just especially susceptible. Why? Because we use euphemisms and passive voice.
Journal
The
articles,
animals were
yeah.
sacrificed at the end of the experiment. It's less jarring than admitting that I killed 20 mice by holding their necks and pulling their tails until their stopped.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, it's also the Nazis considered themselves science-based. They also
Mhm.
considered themselves, it's shocking, but and I hate to bring it up, but the Nazis had a very robust animal welfare group. Like they were very into animal welfare.
But they also, I mean, there's the whole history of them really dismantling animal rights. Like
The
they
groups.
wanted it all to be under the veterinary
Yeah.
field, and it would be like being like, all of these animal rights groups mean nothing. We're only going
Yeah.
to listen to AVMA,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is that's the kind of the similarity there.
Mhm.
But yes,
It's like the consolidation of power. I mean, authoritarianism doesn't work unless you start having fewer and fewer groups and columns of power
mhm.
and wealth.
Yeah, and she talks about how it's been shown that medical students through medical school become less empathetic throughout their training as they progress through their training. But medical school is addressing this, um, acknowledging that the things that are in the hidden curriculum, the things that are taught that students learn but aren't actually like part of the curriculum,
Mm.
and how to address this. But the veterinary schools aren't necessarily addressing this. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to bring up cult characteristics. I think that might be a bit too far.
I mean,
Uh,
it's a little tough. I like the pop culture
I
reference, but
feel
these
like
kids probably have never seen this 25-year-old movie.
I want to do like a whole presentation on Fight Club.
That would be fun. That'd be a good video. It'd be
Yeah.
a good YouTube video. I like Nerds Like Us do the plant farmers. It's funny. What about not just plant farmers? What about the kids? So 4-H oftentimes when they do the auctions and the stuff that we were talking about when they separate the children from the animals or the animals from the children, that usually happens at like state and county fairs. And they also have at the state and county fairs, kids grow tomatoes, kids grow the largest pumpkin and the largest. There are kids that are just doing vegetable farming, and it'd be a funny joke for the presentation actually. Like the kids who are doing the same process for the vegetables, they don't have to be told not to name their tomatoes or not to name
Yeah. But we
their
don't usually
cucumbers.
name our fruits and vegetables in the first place.
Well, that
Why?
just goes to show why. Yeah, it just goes to show though that the kids who are engaged in the same style of contests, they do an auction, they have to water and help the plant grow, and then they take it to the festival, to the state fair, and they have a contest, just like the chicken farmer does.
Mhm.
But they don't have to be warned not to name their
I'm
tomatoes.
going to delete that slide. And the kill your heroes thing, I think we're just getting too long. I'm trying to slim this thing down. I feel like this doesn't really apply to this talk either. Which I love this quote. You must see with eyes unclouded by hate. See that this is Hayao Miyazaki, the famous filmmaker, Spirited Away, all that. Howl's Moving
The
Castle.
should be vegan filmmaker, since he has so many vegan themes in his films.
Yeah.
And you find out that he's not vegan, you're like, what?
I mean, just goes to show you, right? You must see with eyes unclouded by hate, see the good in that which is evil and the evil in that which is good. Pledge yourself to neither side, but vow instead to preserve the balance that exists between the two.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of, we can't just think that animal rights activists, we're all good and we can't do any evil, because that's literally how you become a Nazi. If you don't question your own stuff and you view all slaughterhouse workers, animal producers as evil, like, ooh, no, actually that's not.
Well, I guess yes. I think that it's interesting. We bring up the slaughterhouse workers sometimes, but I don't usually hear animal rights activists talking shit on the slaughterhouse workers. I think most of the time,
I do.
but you
do all
usually
the time.
Come on,
Seriously.
most of them
On
know
my
that.
comment section, no, they don't. They're literally every single comments section when I post about the gas chamber footage or anything, I get a bunch of animal rights activists saying, throw the slaughterhouse workers in the gas chamber, throw Temple Grandin in the gas chamber. Like, it's
Well,
really
Temple
disgusting.
Grandin is more than just a vulnerable worker, but I guess in order to be a Nazi, you have to be attacking the vulnerable. And I understand what you're saying. Like, if you are looking
But
at those,
everybody's told a story where the vulnerable is at it, like the Animal Ag Alliance is a perfect example of this. They tell the story where the vegans are the powerful one, the animal rights activists are the powerful ones with all the money. That's the story that they tell.
yeah, but the animals
producers
are the
and
vulnerable ones, and that's the thing. They're using that as a scapegoat. They're just scapegoating the animal rights activists or whomever. When the vulnerable is the animal, they are oppressing them. I could care less whether or not they're demonizing the animal rights activists. Activists are always demonized. Gandhi was painted as an extreme, radical, horrible human being that was going to destroy so many things, and yet, no, the people were vulnerable and they were being exploited. Um, I don't really mind if they want to talk trash on activists. That's everyone's used to that,
but
right?
people are always like, you don't realize how people are able to be told a story and believe that it's the Darvo
Yeah.
what is it, reverse victim and offender, that whole thing. It's really prevalent. We've all been manipulated by Darvo tactics to reverse the victim and the offender. We see that commonly in the animal rights movement, where the animal rights activists are claiming to be the victim of activists who are voicing concerns about their behavior. Like, we have to recognize that in our own movement. We have to recognize that in the veterinary profession, how we demonize animal rights activists.
Yeah, I guess I agree with you. I don't know. I stop short of like, that's how you become a Nazi. I think like in order to become a Nazi, you have to be the one who is oppressing the vulnerable. Like,
I think we've all been there. You think of an instance in your life. You've never made a mistake where you accidentally joined on a pylon on somebody who didn't deserve it, who was actually
maybe in like the 6th grade or something, maybe, but that's something that
I
children.
literally did like 4 years ago. Like, I was led to believe that this dude was sexually harassing women in the animal rights movement. And there was like this big pylon on this dude. And then I finally heard his side of the story and I was realized, like, oh no, he has no power. He was just a man
Railroaded.
voicing concerns, and he was the one who was the victim of the situation.
Yeah, I guess that's something that happens with like mob mentality, sure. But again, I wouldn't call you part of the Nazi mob. I mean, it's something where you weren't seeking to I don't know, rid the world of him or use him in any way. You were trying to protect what you thought was a vulnerable population. You know what I mean? And sometimes we get it wrong. But if you are standing up for whom you think is the vulnerable, I think that is going to you're always going to end up on the right side. You can argue that the Nazis said that our pure bloodline was vulnerable, right? And they spun that,
Mhm.
and they did spin that narrative through propaganda, but that wasn't really what was sold to the German people. They sold them in many other ways. It's kind of like what's happening now, right? Like the criminal migrant is poisoning our bloodline in America. Yeah, that is one of the narratives that's being spun by the administration, but that's not the only one. You've got the all the stuff about the economy and all, there's so many other things around it, um so it's easy to point and be like, okay, well, I see what you're saying, that you're crying victim through like the DARVO, the reverse victim offender, reverse victim, whatever it stands
Mhm.
for. But at the end of the day, the one with the power is the one going into people's houses with ICE agents and taking people and putting them in concentration camps.
But think of like the Melee massacre at Vietnam. Like you put
Yeah.
people, you made them good people were
Mhm.
made crazy by
Yeah.
war
And
and then
hierarchies.
put in this situation where they massacred and did harm to people.
Yeah.
I think those people should be forgiven for what they did because they were put in a horrible situation.
Yeah, I guess like if I could do this, so I guess this is such a really good topic. And I understand like amnesty for those who have committed crimes. Desmond Tutu, for example, in the end of apartheid in South Africa, he had amnesty for anyone that would come out and just tell them about what happened. Tell us about the secret police. And nothing is more Nazi-esque than that. And so how we handle Nazis after they've done a Nazi thing, like My Lai, but also like apartheid's just so much more clearly, wow, you really did a Nazi thing. And then you have Desmond Tutu at the end. You could go and do Nuremberg trial style and just go get everybody and hang them. But instead, they wanted to move forward and they had everyone come out and had televised hearings where the people came out and they said, I'm sorry, and here's where the bodies are, and here's what happened. And they were able to get closure and move. It was incredible. And what kind of fortitude did those people have, like Desmond Tutu, to say that? And people wanted heads, but
Yeah.
instead they got amnesty. And I agree with you about granting amnesty. Totally, I totally agree with that. I don't think we should demonize people until the end of time. I don't think the German, especially like the Germans who are alive today, I don't think should be, punished in perpetuity for something that happened ages ago. But when we're talking about in the moment, who is the Nazi? Well, it's the one beating the vulnerable person or the vulnerable animal. That's the Nazi. It's real easy to spot. Like that guy.
I worry about these students who are put in, who work in these labs, who are told to torture animals for the greater good, and I've been led to believe, oh no, this is a good lab doing it the right way, because there's no I don't see any
Yeah.
monkeys with screws in their head like the PETA
Yeah.
pictures. So they must be doing things the right way.
But Crystal, you've
And
got
they're
such an eloquent voice about, you are like one of the most eloquent people I've ever met about how to combat that. It's you're the person who's telling people how not to be a Nazi. You don't want to demonize them. I get that completely. I agree. But you're the person. You're it. You're the person who's saying, be a whistleblower. Don't shit on do-gooders. Be the person who's going to look at these things, address them, and speak up, speak your conscience. Like that's how you stop from having Nazis. You're the person
I
who's
think
preventing it.
how I think we stop from having Nazis is recognizing that systems can turn you into a Nazi. So be aware of the systems that will lead you to become morally vulnerable and
Mhm.
cause harm to others. that's what I think is the answer. Am I wrong about that? Is there another way? Because that's the way I talk about it. I'm like, we are all morally vulnerable. The way veterinary medicine is going right now, and the way it has been, is a situation, is a structure that's set up to make people less empathetic, normalize them to violence, and endorse, legitimize, and shroud Nazi tactics into everyday life, enshrine,
But
things like ventilation shutdown.
Totally. And but what you always say, and I'm paraphrasing here, don't simp for the man. Like
Yeah,
you can't just witness the hierarchy and be like, I'm okay with this, and goose step with the crowd. You are telling people, don't goose step.
Yeah.
Don't worship these hierarchies. Don't worship your professor. You need to be the person who stands your ground and says, I know I'm vulnerable. I know I'm going to cry.
Mhm.
Oh my God, how many times when I have had those courageous conversations, I went home in tears. I'm pretty good at holding it in during the moment, because my mom always told me never let him see me sweat. But don't let him.
Patriarchy will do that to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was always really good about not crying in front of them, but I would go home and cry after these hard conversations I've had to have. So gut check time. I mean,
Mhm.
now I guess you're right. Maybe everyone who doesn't have the guts, we don't need to hang them all, but we need to empower them to stand up. We need to empower them to speak their conscience. I
Yeah.
think that's a
I
powerful
think
message.
the mistake we make is like thinking that you'd recognize a monster if they were in your life. Like you would
don't always.
recognize that child predator in your life, and you don't realize, no, the child predator is the man who you think is very nice and you get along with, and he's so charming and you think he's a good guy. That's
Yeah.
the guy who could be the child predator. Always
Yeah.
realize that. And
Yeah,
always,
okay, but the child predator is a little bit different than what we're talking about, right? I agree again, of course.
or
But when you're looking at
realize you're
hierarchies and the way those are structured to turn you into that is what we need to be aware of. Because there's nothing going to happen to me at this point, at this age, that's going to turn me into a child predator. But if I'm not careful, I could be a MAGA hat wearing goose stepper. I could easily, because I have seen, because a lot of their content, a lot of their arguments are engineered to talk to me.
Mhm.
And I hear it, and every once in a while I go, ooh, if I feel like, ooh, that almost got me. You almost got me on a racism there, or you almost got me on a
racism.
Yeah. Woo, that was close. And if I'm not careful, I could be one of those MAGA guys out there waving the flag.
Yeah.
But that's what we need to show them, is that these hierarchies, like the AVMA and some of these other ones, we need to show them that, yes, this is Nazi shit, and we need to be really careful about these hierarchies if we're going to have them. I think I might be an anarchist, but I realize that sometimes that's not where I live. I live in these hierarchies. So we need to hold them to account and question them, and
yeah.
That's that kind of that shot of calcium that someone like you, Crystal, gives to these people. You have the horse syringe, and you're putting calcium in their spines.
Yeah. Okay. But how do we do that? And how come I'm not able to share my screen anymore? What did you do? Okay. So I talk a little about, and I'll change these slides around. And this slide I might move to later, but to talk about the answer to all of these things is institutional courage. And this is where we encourage institutions to support whistleblowers, apologize for wrongdoing, like the AVMA, apologize for wrongdoing about VSD and bullying and retaliating against your veterinarians, keeping us out of conferences, and put systems in place to protect people in the future. But that might be more coming to the end. And I
I
talk
like
about
that
how
though. I like the Gloria Steinem reference too. Are you going to tell people who Gloria Steinem is?
who is she? She's like at this
She's
point.
incredible. She started Ms. Magazine. She went undercover at a Playboy club. They used to have Playboy clubs where they dressed all the women like bunnies, and she went undercover as a feminist journalist and wrote about her experience there.
Oh wow.
There's
I'd
a
love to
great
read
picture
that.
of there's a great picture of her dressed like the bunny because that's what they it's she was only I don't know 21 years old when she had it or something, but she is a remarkable feminist activist journalist. Yeah. Ms. Magazine, she started it.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I'm just looking at the pictures
Of her.
Yeah, can't pull it up right now, but
yeah, she's great. Gloria Steinem's great, and I think college students might appreciate like this is what this lady did. Just so you know, like
yeah, why don't you do something like that? Like go
she's an example of
undercover.
courage, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be. Yeah, we have to expose these things. I'm just gonna screenshot. Actually, here, let me see if I can pull up so you can all see what I'm looking at here.
Of the photo. Oh yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
That's her. That's a famous picture. Yeah.
Is this it? Is there a better one?
It's a very it's a very famous photo of her serving drinks at the Playboy Club. Oh, there's one of her dancing right there. Yeah. Anyway,
This one, is that her too?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's her. Yeah. There's a
Doesn't
few.
really quite look. Does it?
Oh, maybe it's not. I don't know. I think it is. Anyway, Gloria Steinem's always been kind of a, if I'm allowed to say it, kind of a hero of mine because she really laid it all on the line for it, and then she started a whole magazine about women, and I think it's great and empowering women.
Yeah, we got to get an article in Ms. Magazine or one of those.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You're perfect.
We didn't talk about my Elle Magazine article. Oh well.
Elle. I know.
Oh, you didn't see that? I was in Elle
No.
Magazine in France, this fashion magazine about whistleblowing, and they did this like deep dive. I'll just pull it up right now because we got a couple minutes left. Let me see if I can. And they didn't even interview me for it. They just like how it's kind of, they covered me like I was a celebrity and they like
cool.
just like looked at my social media and Instagram and TikTok and like wrote an article based on that, like you would do like for Chaparral Roan or something.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that's fun. It's a really good article too, like kind of like one of the best. Like it was sort of very Le Monde style.
A profile of courage.
Yeah. How do you say is it Lanceuse de l'heure or like which is whistleblower?
Lanceuse de l'heure.
This like screenshot with the cow with the nasal discharge in the back.
The cow's drooling on your head. D'alerte. L'accuse d'alerte, something like that.
Let's pull up a Google Translate of this.
That's so cool.
Websites. Here we go. No. Okay, does it still work? But the veterinary and whistleblower fighting bird flu and the U.S. government. As the U.S. struggles to contain one of the world's worst bird flu outbreaks, whistleblower veterinarian is battling misinformation from lobbyists and the U.S. government. In the United States, more than 148 birds have been died, blah, blah. Yet the federal government appears unwilling to address the scale of the problem. Worse, in late January, the Trump administration blocked the release of some information used to protect against H5N1, including studies showing how often veterinarians who treat cows have been unknowingly affected. So that was the Salon article, Salon article that they added. And on February 18th, the Department of Agriculture admitted it had accidentally fired its bird flu workers and announced it was working to track down their emails and ask them to return to work. Faced with this unfolding state scandal, the whistleblower has been fighting for several months. Crystal Heath, 43-year-old veterinarian who practices in Los Angeles, used to care for cats and dogs. I still do. But since last
I think
summer,
care for used to treat.
I still treat cats and
treat
dogs.
cats and dogs. I've never seen a picture of you actually treating a dog. You mostly do cats these days, I guess.
No, I do both. I was literally just this week surgerizing dogs.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I've always just seen you with buried in cat. You're buried in pussy.
Yeah, I do. Yes. I prefer to be buried in pussy.
Yes.
But since last summer, she has become a whistleblower, as Le Monde reports. She began surveying California farms to understand why bird flu, even though it has been declared in 2022, continued to spread. She discovered a very large number of contaminated cows and producers who maintain a state of silence regarding any information on the subject.
That's awesome. I think this is great.
This is a really good article. Anyway, I won't read the whole thing, but
you should reach out to them and be like, "Hey, where's my photo suit? I need my glamour shots."
Yeah. So who wrote this, by the way?
We should just reach out to them and be like, "Hey, we'd love to do a better interview or do
Gail
something."
Vallant. This guy.
Gail Vallant.
Twitter. I gotta make sure I follow him.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I don't want to translate Twitter though. That's not what I wanted to do.
But still, that's awesome. I think that's wonderful. Gail Vallant. Gail, let's do a follow-up. Let's talk about some stuff, Gail.
Yeah.
Send me an L photographer. That's really cool. You know, my next video on my Skyjack Morgan channel is going to be about my 6 favorite members, Mitglied des Widerstands, which is members of the resistance when Nazi Germany was going on. But they're all women. Did I say that part already?
No.
My 6 favorite female members of the resistance during Nazi Germany. And I'm really excited. I've already recorded it. I'm editing it right now, but it's going to come out on Friday. I think it's kind of just apropos to what we're talking about here. Because I think that I was talking with somebody at WonderCon on Saturday, and we're talking about politics, as I do, and I was talking about resistance movement stuff, like the French resistance, and he's like, "How come we didn't learn any of this stuff in school?" And I'm like, exactly. That's what I think. We
just learn about like the battles and Napoleon, and we don't learn about the resistance. Yeah,
right. We learn about Patton and Rommel and maybe some generals' names.
Those in power. We don't learn about the people.
Yes, and I read Howard Zinn's history of the United States of America. People's history, right?
Yeah.
I read that a long time ago. I think I might read it again, but yeah, it was a moving thing to have read as a young man, and I think that I can't believe more people don't read it. It's shocking to me that people don't read it, because it's not all about generals and presidents. That's the most boring part, actually.
Yeah, this is the veterinary resistance. Which
I know that lady, Lorraine. I know her. Do I know the others? I don't know.
No, Lorraine is not here. Actually, that's a Britton Hamilton.
That's not Lorraine.
That's not Lorraine. No.
Sorry, they have similar faces.
I mean, all veterinarians, we're all like white women.
There's a certain type.
Yeah, we kind of all look alike, honestly.
Kind of have always with the hair thing though. That bando looking thing that's on the head. It's very common.
So talk about terminal surgeries, and then this veterinary student who got an F, in her class for refusing to participate in a lab that involved the killing of a bull.
Does it have a happy ending? But she's a doctor now.
She's a doctor now. But she could have probably sued them, I think. But and then I really want to bring up access to care, because the one thing that I haven't done in my talks is
Mhm.
tied the fact that veterinary care is increasing in cost, and so few animals have now access to veterinary care. And I think we got to make that point, and like also like bring up my jobs and how I love my jobs, providing access to care and spaying, neutering all these animals, and how much fun it is, and like this is a viable career
Well,
for
you said this stuff.
veterinarians.
Yeah, you said something
But
recently about how not only that you enjoy your job, but also that people who do your line of work, I make enough money and I don't burn out. Like that's
Mhm.
something that I think
I
everybody,
feel
any
like, unfortunately, we don't have a study, I don't think, to back that up. Like, are high quality, high volume vets happier than general
well,
practice
you can
vets?
still speak to your own experience and to the people that you know a lot of vets that burn out, but you have
Mhm.
yet to meet them in your side of things, that you've done
Yeah.
both sides. You don't need to, not everything has to be facts and figures. It could be your own meandering experiences.
Yeah. And
And
it's so funny, like, whenever there's like a, "I am a vet, I'm thinking of leaving general practice," a bunch of people are like, "Have you considered high quality, high volume spay neuter?" It's great.
mhm, mhm,
Um,
and people like you and they want you don't have to, you're not sitting there putting animals to sleep all the time and all that. I mean, like,
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's great. And
also you mentioned frequently like there's also sanctuary vets and all sorts of other stuff, lines of
mhm,
work that you can get into that don't necessarily revolve around. Yeah.
exactly. But then I want to bring it to like, meanwhile, what are we incentivizing with our tax dollars? We
Mhm.
are incentivizing, I'll get to, um, this is the study about how veterinary medical education stunts the moral development of students, how the industry tries to frame progressive changes in curriculum
Mhm.
as bowing to activist pressure and all of this stuff.
There's so much of that. It's so true, man. Sometimes I feel like that when the universities crack down on activism, it's because they don't want to bow down to those smelly hippies. People think that
Mhm.
these universities are like these bastions of liberal progressiveness or something, but they're not. They're more conservative. Like at Berkeley, it's considered a liberal campus. It's not. It's in a liberal city. The campus is actually very, very conservative, and they're not going to bow down to some active. Like it seems sometimes like we're just not going to do it because we don't like activists. You know?
Yeah. And this is Darvo, deny attack, reverse victim and offender. I don't know if I'll leave this in or not.
Deny
Um,
attack.
deny attack. That's the
Yeah,
DA. I forgot. I'm like,
yeah. Deny attack, reversed victim and offender. Yeah.
watch for it. See it happen frequently.
Yeah, Trump does it every day. You know,
Yeah.
it's like every day.
Yeah. I don't know whether I'll bring up how Andrew Knight and others who were trying to speak about humane alternatives in veterinary education. Actually, I think that's an important point to make. They were denied the ability to speak at the AVMA convention, like par for the course. Who is the AVMA? This is who decides veterinary curriculum, but it's also corporate interests, pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, I think that
Cargill.
you have an opportunity there to bring it back to your personal story about how you're a member of the AVMA and that you are still trying to change it from within. That,
Mhm.
yeah, I am kind of an adversary of the AVMA, and yeah, I've been denied, and yeah, people are denied, but this is how we have to change. We have to change it. We have to, you know? I think
Yeah.
I think that's something that will speak to them because when
Yeah.
you tell people. Remember at VMX when you told that guy, "Well, I'm a member. I've been a member for whatever amount of years," and he's like, "Huh?" And then he wanted to listen to what you had to say. Do you remember that guy?
Oh, the AVMA representative who came to our honor booth.
Yeah, he's a black dude. I think his
Yeah.
name. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I wonder what his impression. I wonder what he went back with his bosses and
I
said.
wondered too, but I remember the tone changed when you said I'm an AVMA member and you kind
Mhm.
of scoffed a little, and that was it's funny because it was at a moment in your conversation as an onlooker, it was kind of it was kind of escalating, but when you said no, I'm an I'm an AVMA member, he's like you are, and then all of a sudden it became more like two colleagues having a disagreement rather than, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not one of the. I'm still shocked. He didn't know who I was.
Do you know who I am? Do you have any
Who I
idea
am?
who you're talking to?
Yeah. Anyway, it's practically 6 o'clock, so I won't belabor at this point. But this John Zook says, "I want to work as a vet. Do it. Go to vet school. Like,
do it. People, is never too late to go back to school. When I was
how can you be a vegan and not be a veterinarian? That's the question."
We all have different talents. Let me just. But if you want to be a vet, you should be. Go to school. Do it.
Do it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Affordable veterinary care. I love it. RE Resistance. I personally knew nephew Seamus, Phil of the Vatican. Oh, interesting. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that's the show then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody who wants to be members of the Resistance. Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad
Join
that we're here.
us for FOIA Friday at 4:00 on Friday.
FOIA Friday at 4. We're going to come live again. In the meantime, it'd be great if you would subscribe to Crystal Heath's YouTube channel. She's got a couple milestones she's trying to meet. And also Skyjack Morgan's YouTube channel. I've always got a milestone I'm trying to meet. It'd be great. I've got one more, and I'm at 2,900. I'm pretty happy.
Nice.
Yeah, so please subscribe to both of our YouTube channels. That would be awesome. And we'll see you later. We'll see you on Friday.
Next time. Bye.
Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do, hold on a second. Here we
You
go.
have an outro? Okay.
I can't believe you don't like this one. It's got a little jingle. I made sure it had a little jingle that was kind of.
This isn't a jingle. This is not memorable. It's not an earworm.
We need an earworm. Got it. It's got to be an earworm. I thought we were going.
I'm not going to be singing this tune, and
you got to hear it like 20 times before you just.
No.
All right. Well, I'm going to put
Goodbye.
the chickens back on. Bye.